Everybody set?
60 stairs.
I'd like to call the village board meeting to order on Tuesday, October 21st at 6:05 PM. In order for everyone to hear, please turn off any cell phones or other noisemakers or silence them. Roll call, please.
Nino,
Here.
Baker,
Here.
Solomon,
Here.
Duffy,
Here.
Zaczek,
Here.
Enquist,
Here.
and Cole is excused.
Excused. Approval of the minutes as published.
So moved. Second.
We have two sets,
Yes,
There are 2 months.
which sets are we?
August
August
19th and
September.
September 16th.
Does your motion cover both sets?
It does.
Your
And
second?
my second will cover both sets.
Additions, corrections, changes, deletions, grammatical errors?
Looks good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Comments and correspondence? Any correspondence?
You have two items, sir. One of them is a thank you note from the folks at the community garden, essentially thanking Christy for all the work that she did this year as a liaison up there, as well as the work the Parks Department did in taking care of the garden. The other one is the annual request for support that we would traditionally get from Door County Economic Development Corporation, thanking us for our previous contributions. This is already addressed as a budgetary item in inclusion to support other organizations. No idea, sir.
Anybody other correspondence? Anybody else received?
No, sir.
Comments? Does anybody in the public care to make a comment about a non-agenda item at this time? Going once, going twice? Business item. Item number 1, presentation by Jack Moneypenny of the DCVB on strategic community partnership funding and the DCVB operations. Good evening, Jack.
Hello, everyone. How are you? Good. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. I put together, this is a presentation we've been doing in each community, and actually we've been trying to get to Sister Bay to do it, so this works out great. And embedded into this is some information on the Strategic Community Partnership Fund. I'm not going to read every one of these, but there's a packet for each of you to take a look at at your leisure, but there's a couple points I want to point out on here, a couple of items. You know, the first is on page 3. We talk about the roles of the Door County Visitor Bureau and the roles of the local business or community association. In this case, it's Sister Bay Advancement Association. You know, our role, the way we see our role, and our board has directed our role to be, is we go out and market to people outside of the community to bring them into Door County, trying to produce overnight stays with them. We'll always accept day trippers, but our primary thrust is to go out and bring people to the county. We see the local association as the people that are the boots on the ground. They are the ones that need to get the people, once they're here, into your businesses, into your community to spend money also by the programming they do, et cetera. So we see everybody having a role in this. And once they get them into the community, quite frankly, it's a business owner's responsibility to get them into their business. So everybody plays a role in getting the visitor to where it needs to be. You know, we have 13 full-time staff members. And the reason that's an important number is I came here 7 years ago, just at the precipice of room tax taking off, and the marketing budget was $200,000, as everyone probably knows. And there were 12 full-time staff members at the Bureau at that time. So we've added $2.5 million in marketing dollars and 1 full-time person. So I truly believe that we really have, some people have left on their own, and the people that we've rehired to fill those positions are people that have been able to cross over and do different jobs and multitask for us. So we're not just regimented into one job there. That way 13 people can do what we need to get done. Our budget, now this is a budget for this year, is about $3.25 million. And for those of you who don't know, we run 2 parallel budgets. We run a marketing budget, which is derived from room tax collections. We receive 66 cents out of every dollar collected from room tax, as well as the co-op advertising. That's about $100,000 a year comes in from members for co-op marketing, and partnership dollars. And we have about, I want to say about $12,000 in partnership dollars, we classify them as. The other budget that we run parallel to that is our membership budget. that is primarily made up of membership dues, ads purchased for the official visitor guide, and ads purchased for the winter guide. And the reason we run parallel budgets is there's pretty strict state statutes on how marketing dollars can be used. So we need all of those other funds to help change the filters, make sure the carpets are clean, do all that other stuff that doesn't fall under state statute. And we keep them separate, so at any given time, anyone can say exactly how many marketing dollars are left as of last month or as of last quarter, and we can tell you that, what we spent and where we've spent them. The 5-year review and figures, you'll find this when you get to it on page 6. This just runs through, 2007, May of 2007, room tax started being collected. But it wasn't until January 1, 2009, that all 19 communities were signed on and members of the tourism zone. So that is our base year when we can compare apples to apples to apples. So starting with 2009 as our base year, for the last 5 years, we've shown what those 5 years have brought. Room tax collections are up about 20.44% from 2009 through 2013. Every year, we've seen a really good, steady, even growth of room tax collections over those 5 years. But 13 is about 20% higher than 9. The 30% to all municipalities is up about $185,000. The Village of Sister Bay has increased their portion $15,464 over the course of those 5 years. Room occupancy has gone up 3.92%, and if you can ask any lodging person here, room occupancy doesn't move that quickly. I think this is a good steady growth for us in that area. Average daily rate has grown $13. So the average rate being charged on a room in 2013 is about $13 more than it was in 2009. If you take all the rooms rented at all the rates they were rented at and did the math, it's about a $13 increase. Total room revenues are up about $11.2 million in those 5 years, the gross sales. And county sales tax, because everybody says, well, that's just hotels, so we track county room tax also. And that 0.5% over the last 5 years is up $254,000. Now, if you take that and reverse it out and do the math, every dollar of the 0.5% sales tax collected represents $200 in gross sales. So this represents a growth in sales of about $50 million in Door County over the last 5 years. We know and understand that residents are a part of that. We get that. But we believe automobiles and large appliances are in a rotation by residents. So there's always that baseline of residential sales, people buying things and paying tax. But where we see that growth, we truly believe is the tourism market coming in and spending those dollars on taxable goods. The next few of these are just visitor spending in Door County, room tax collections. We talked about that a little bit. State and local taxes generated. On page 10, which I think is kind of the reason I'm here tonight, or one of them, is a strategic community partnership fund. And just a 30-second primer on that. When we were trying to get all of the communities into the tourism zone to have a unified county to sell, so that we were selling an entire entity and not just a partial entity, we had a sticky wicket. Sturgeon Bay had been collecting room tax for 10 years prior to that. And it's hard for a community and a community business association to give up their funding. So we built a bridge, and it was called the Community CMF, Community Marketing Fund. And we put $300,000 into that pot. And the way that money was separated or given to the communities was whatever percentage your community put into the total collections pot, that's the amount you got out of those funds. Primarily, this money was meant at first to build a bridge for Sturgeon Bay so they could have 3 years, it was a 3-year bridge, to find money to augment the money they were going to lose. Well, it's not fair for one community to get extra money and not all of them. So that's when I said, okay, if we're gonna do this, we have to be even Stevens, so we'll put $300,000 in the pot and we'll split it out. It's 3 years, we can live with it. Well, as many of you know, at the end of 3 years, it was fantastic. We saw great things happening with these funds. And my board of directors decided that this should go on indefinitely into the future and change it to SCP, which is our community partnership, our strategic community partnership, we like to call it. The way that final worked out for this fund was we would take 11% of the 66% we get. So we get 66 cents out of every dollar. Of the money we get, we will take 11 cents out of every dollar and put it into this pot. Now this year meaning the year we're in right now, it's like $268,000 maybe. 2015, that pot grows to $274,000 in 2015. On this page here, it shows all the communities and their contribution to the pot and what they received out of the 2000, or will, by the end of the year, receive out of the 2014 pot of Strategic Community Partnership Funds. As you can see at the bottom, to date, over the last 5 years, Sister Bay Advancement has received $147,441 in total, both out of SCP and CMF funds. That's the total of everything that's been received. Before I go any farther, that's kind of one of the things I was asked to come and talk about. Did that clarify for anybody? The SCP funds, maybe I could take questions at this point.
The one board member specifically that requested this was not in attendance this evening. He's got an event that he had to attend of a medical nature.
Okay.
But yeah,
Anybody know what he wanted to know?
But I think this would have answered it.
I think it would have, yeah.
Okay. And then, some of our key initiatives this year, we decided to capitalize on what we had. So we did a cherry campaign. We built a separate microsite that everybody, and the number of hits that microsite got within our website on the cherries and how they grow and where they grow and why they grow and what you do with them after they grow is pretty phenomenal. And then we did a regional PR campaign. John Jarish in our office past spring went down, and our agency worked with him and got him morning TV news shows in Chicago, Milwaukee, Madison, and he would go on air and talk about Door County, talk about the cherries, talk about the cherry blossoms, and talk about how you can go on the website and find the countdown and all of that. It was amazing to see the spikes immediately coming onto our website of people that were just glomming onto it to see more about this, from all over the areas he was in. So it really paid off. Small investment, big payback for us, truly. We did expanded television buy in Madison, Milwaukee, Northern Illinois, Chicago, and the Fox Cities this year. I will tell you, I will open up the curtains and let you peek behind just a little bit. In 2015, the difference in our television buy is we're going to buy some network TV. Everything we've always bought is cable. Cable's inexpensive. We're going to go into the network, the big ones, and do some TV buys in Chicago and Milwaukee. And we're fortunate because our agency has been able to ascertain and lock in time during the news hour in the evening. And those are traditionally programming you don't videotape or VCR or DVR or DVD or whatever you do. And because there's new news in an hour. So people usually watch the news live when it happens. So we'll see how that goes. Our out of home that we had fun with this year, they were called wind up and power down stations. In Milwaukee and in Madison, in the malls there, we had built a 10 by 15 foot area with Adirondack chairs, and there were machines that were about 5 feet tall, and they had all kinds of plugs that fit everybody's phones and iPads, and they could plug in and get a free charge, sit down in a chair, look at a visitor guide, and watch some of our commercials on a flat screen TV. I believe the number was about 15,000 visitor guides we went through combined at the two malls that people picked up and carried out. It was done in March, April, and May, so it interrupted that late winter early springtime and got them thinking about vacations. And by all indications, it worked in the way that we saw a lot of advance reservations this year. More advance reservations than we have in the last few years by starting our thrust earlier and not waiting until spring to start marketing. So it really kind of paid off for us. So kind of excited about that. We'll probably try to do the same thing next year. I saw on the agenda there was something about operations. Is there a specific question about our operations? Because, I mean, we do a million different things in a million different ways with a million different people, so.
Jack, I just wanted to give you the carte blanche to talk about what you wanted to talk about.
Oh.
You know, if you wanted to go a little down.
No, I mean, that's us. I mean, I think that, you know, everything is starting to really happen, you know. People said, well, why isn't this happening faster? And I think that when you see the modulated growth over the last 5 years, really good things are starting to happen. And I just continue to see a nice upward climb. You know, I see great things happening at the community levels with those funds that we're spreading back out into the community. They're really being able to help and capitalize on some of the initiatives and the thoughts behind, I don't want to say at a local level, but at a local level, what they can do when they have a person and some funds to do it with. So, you know, I will speak for our staff and my board and say everybody's delighted with the way things are going right now.
Jack, you
And I
guys-
haven't got a hate letter yet this year, and it's October. So I still got 2 months.
I've got a question. We go to the Tourism Zone Commission meetings. We're given a number of metrics by which you measure your successes in marketing outside of Door County. From hits on the website to in-kind marketing dollars that you receive, bus tours that come in. I mean, there's this huge data packet you guys put together. What do you guys get back from the strategic community partnerships in terms of measurement, performance measurement?
Each community needs to give us, I don't want to call it a marketing plan, but a marketing sheet for the next year. They kind of need to frame out where they want to spend the dollars because they know pretty much what they're going to get. We've distributed those sheets. You got yours, right, for next year? Right. Well, but at the beginning, we get kind of this framework sheet, and then each quarter, they need to turn a report in showing where they spent the dollars through that quarter, and then we make sure those dollars, because remember, every one of these dollars we give out are still room tax dollars that have to be spent in accordance to state statute. They can't be spent however you want. They still have to be spent the way we spend them, just at the different level. So we make sure that those quarterly reports, all of those funds match up and go where they're supposed to go. Now, I don't want to make it sound like it's so narrow that you can never fit into it, because it's a nice bandwidth to play within, and you know, it covers staffing and it covers things like that. So there are great opportunities, but it can't be spent on something that doesn't match into those columns. So each quarter, we check every community and make sure they're spending it in accordance with A, how they said they were going to spend it, and B, with state statute.
Jack, correct me if I'm wrong, Door County is the only county to my knowledge that is completely in compliance with the state code? Have I heard that float somewhere?
No, I don't think that's true. I just
Okay.
think there's a lot of bad apples out there, and they're
Okay.
the ones that rise to the surface. I think there's a lot of good communities in Wisconsin spending money the correct way, but, you know, there's many, many grandfathered communities that they're not doing anything wrong. They're spending the money the way they're allowed to based on grandfather clauses, but they're certainly not putting 70% of their money into a pot. So, and then there's a few that are just bad people, but our job is not to police them.
Sure.
So, I don't want to make us seem like we're the only ones in heaven in the choir singing right now.
I was
There are
trying to give
others.
you a shout out there, Jack, but
Well, I think that as a whole, our community is doing a wonderful job, but I don't think we're the only ones doing a wonderful job.
good enough.
I'll just like to give you kudos on that wind down and power up. I was actually in Mayfair Mall in May and saw it and was blown away, quite honestly. It caught my eye from afar with the colored chairs. Went over, spent time. It got a lot of time from a lot of people. It was very well done, and so that was very cool to see somewhere as far away and in a large mall setting. So, you know, as a consumer, I think that was time and money well spent.
Thank you. Thank you. We always like to hear those stories.
Yeah.
Those are great. Can I answer anything else for anyone tonight about anything? You know, my job some days is to change the toilet paper and plunge the toilets. I don't like it, but that's part of the operations. What can I say? If a bad visitor comes through and does something bad, I have to go clean it up, but that's okay.
Just like the rest of us, Jack.
That's right. See? That's what I'm saying. We're all in this together. We could have Door County plungers. So, nothing else? No? But you all know where to find me, right?
Oh,
If you
yeah.
have a question, or you can have the gentleman who's not here tonight call me, and I can meet him halfway and have coffee, and I can talk about anything you'd like to talk about if you'd like. All right?
Very, very good. Thank you very much,
Thank you,
Jack.
Jack.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
I would like to change the agenda order and move up item number 7, presentation by SBA regarding 2014 activities. Discussion setting goals and expectations of SBA for 2015, consider a motion for action if appropriate. Ms. Page.
You'll have to forgive me, I'm a little raspy still from Fall Fest, so forgive me if I have a frog in my throat. Zeke, how do you want me to do this? You want me to just nod at you when you were
Give me a
ready to
clip or
switch?
something.
All right. This is partially a presentation that we put together for our SBAA fall dinner that we had a couple weeks ago, and also I did some additions. Go ahead, Zeke. Oh, now I'm gonna have to read this. Some of it I will read just for all of your information. I will email this to Janelle. She will disperse it to you after tonight's meeting so that you have it in front of you so you can go over it with a fine-tooth comb, Pat. Couple things. I'm going to leave off the portion about the room tax because Jack just gave you all of that. But in 2010, the village trustees decided to give Sister Bay Advancement Association $50,000, which in a couple slides we'll see exactly what percentage that is. That $50,000 enabled the Sister Bay Advancement Association to hire me, as well as do quite a number of other initiatives, start some new marketing campaigns, do some new events. That just made things quite a bit more fluid than having to rely on, say, Fall Fest to support everything else that the Advancement Association did for the rest of the year. The organization, although they have me, as Shane can recently attest to, there we go, we still do heavily rely on volunteers. Shane was gracious enough to spend all day Friday at the Fall Fest helping me jury the arts and crafts show, which is kind of an interesting venture. And Nora, too, was there helping at Fall Fest. Thank you, Nora. That we still do very much rely on volunteers for the majority of our events, as much as Sister Bay Advance, as much as I would like help, that may or may not be something that is in our cards in the near future. Well, it's something to be determined. Couple things to highlight, just in the last 5 years since I've started, that money goes towards helping us run the visitor center, staffing the visitor center, running it. It has become a year-round visitor center. In the summer, it is up at the log cabin in Gateway Park. In the winter, it comes down to my office so that we have a year-round visitor center. We have about a $50,000 advertising and promotions budget that we manage, that we develop, that we execute. Very much work in conjunction with Michelle Rasmussen, who works with the Door County Visitor Bureau. We also do a lot with the cooperative marketing campaigns that the Visitor Bureau develops and helps and kind of sort of gives communities kind of some of the first grabs, which is very helpful. Versus the individual, sorry Dave, but business community associations get the first dibs than before businesses do. We also, one of the biggest things that I do that I don't think even some of my board members are aware of on a daily basis, I meet with people walk into my office off the street of all walks of life, be it the people coming to collect ping pong ball prizes today, to someone like Kathy who comes up to me and says, hey, I'm thinking about doing this X, Y, and Z with my business. What do you think? And Kathy and I will sit there and I say, well, from my experience John Doe did X and Z and had really good success, or Jane Smith did Y, and well, it didn't really work out for her too well. You might want to try doing this and that. So not only do I do the day-to-day operations of the Advancement Association, but I help with economic development, promotion, getting businesses into town, convincing them that Sister Bay is a great place to come and bring their business. In addition to, say, talking to prospective brides that want to bring their wedding to our beautiful waterfront park, as well as planning all the events and talking to concert promotion, working on budget planning, and as Jack said, plunging the toilet. One of my favorite things about Fall Fest is I go from talking to the porta potty guy to talking to the helicopter pilot about how much money he potentially could bring in. It's a varied job. This one is hard to read, and this is one that you will probably, I'm going to step away from the mic and go up closer so that I can give you some stuff. This is something that I think, there's no way.
I kind of stand it across for you.
PowerPoint's a funky thing. Once you switch the slide orientation, they all switch. This is something that I actually put together, and none of the other community associations have seen. They will all be getting a copy of this, but I thought it was very interesting. And Jack, I'll make sure that your office gets a copy of this as well. This is comparing all of the business associations. Didn't do Southern Door, because, sorry guys, but Southern Door's not as active as the rest of us in the north. As you can see, Sister Bay Advancement Association does 9 events a year. Those do not include the events that we sponsor. The Peninsula Century Bike Ride. We just had the treatment trail that we were quote unquote sponsor of. Most of them, a lot of them I can't even think of throughout the year because people come and say, hey, can you support us? Can you help us? And when we say, okay, well, what do you need? Well, we'd like to use the facilities. We think this is and Sister Bay Advancement reviews it and says, okay, this is an event that, yes, we think would bring people to Sister Bay. Yes, we will help you and support you, and I'll work with you with the village to use the facilities. Next to us, Bailey's Harbor was, okay, when I talk about it, Sturgeon Bay, I think is kind of on its own little plane. But when you look at the funding, they're kind of similar. The city of Sturgeon Bay Visitor Center does have 3 full-time staff, Jack? Does that sound right? 3 full-time staff and several part-timers. We are outside of Sturgeon Bay. We operate the most events a year. We have the second number of business members. And then Zeke, can you scoot it over, please? I can kind of, right there, that'll work. This I thought was very interesting. You'll note, so I'm going to kind of go by, I think it's Ephraim, the village of Ephraim, and please note, I'm not trying to be derogatory, I found this really interesting. So the town of Fish Creek Civic Association and the Ephraim Business Council receive the most amount of money from their municipalities. Granted, they also bring in the most amount of room tax dollars. However, as you can see, the Fish Creek Civic Association does 5 events a year. The Ephraim Business Association does 3. Yet, Ephraim receives $68,000 a year and Fish Creek receives $58,000 a year. And then they also subsequently get more money from there. Keep sliding to the right, Zeke, and you can see percentages. There we go. Keep going, yeah, right there. Fish Creek Civic receives 50% of their municipality's 30%. The Ephraim Business Council, Ephraim receives 50%, Fish Creek receives 34%. Sister Bay is at 38 and Bailey is at 35. Washington Island, you'll note that there's no number. Washington Island Chamber of Commerce, they receive money from the town. They receive a portion of the room tax money, but then they also receive membership money from the town as well as some other support funds. It's a funky little metric. I included ADR, average daily room rate, as well as occupancy rate, just to kind of give you a percentage. 2 things also to note as you're reviewing this on your own. The city of Sturgeon Bay, they get portions of room tax money from the town of Sebastopol, the town of Sturgeon Bay, the city of Sturgeon Bay, and Nassauwappi. Does that sound right? Or not, it's not.
Forestville.
That goes to
Southern
Southern
Georgia.
Georgia.
Which one did I get?
They get city, town, city of Sturgeon Bay, town of Sturgeon Bay, and Sebastopol.
Do they get money from Carlsbad too, from Egg Harbor, town of Egg Harbor? I thought they, okay. And then Egg Harbor, the Egg Harbor Business Association does not get money from the town of Egg Harbor, they do get money from the village of Egg Harbor. But again, kind of a funky little metric. So, for your records for comparison, just to kind of give you an idea of how everybody shakes out. These are all, except for Jacksonport and Washington Island, all of the business associations do have a full-time year-round person. Village Harbor just made theirs full-time year-round this year. Okay, Zeke. This is a list. Again, this is one of those things when I actually put it down on paper, it's always interesting to see. This is a list of the festivals and events that there's a couple more I did include, like the plein air event and the Peninsula Century Bike Ride that we are sponsors of. These are all the events that Sister Bay Advancement Association hosted, organized, and spent money on this year. One thing that we'll be doing slightly differently next year, I've already talked to a couple of the business members who said that we ought to move the goat parade. Apparently May is a little too early for the goats to go up on the roof, so we're going to probably move that and combine it with Sip and Savor in June. Kind of defeats the purpose of what I was trying to do of having an event in May to bring people here earlier, but animals are animals and we don't want PETA called on us. Not that I think that would, but go ahead.
Snowed one day.
The 2 years ago is when it snowed. Remember that, Nora? That was delightful.
It was nice to see
It was beautiful. We had lots of people. And
in one go.
yeah. That's one of the things we'll be working on for 2015. Door County Short Film Fest is one of the new events that Sister Bay Advancement Association took under our wing this past for 2014. We did net $689. That's pretty fantastic from an event that's growing. We are trying to do some different things with that. That is a winter event, indoor winter event, so we're not as dependent on the weather and the snow and everything else as an outdoor event would be. And we're working on doing some different things. Go ahead, Zeke. We worked in conjunction with the Village of Sister Bay and Janelle. I'm going to give Janelle some accolades again. Without Janelle, the Field and Street Rally would not have happened. She worked her fingers off to make that happen, and it was a successful event, and that is something that Sister Bay Advancement Association will be discussing, working on for 2015. Go ahead, Zeke. This is one thing for us to touch on. The new pavilion is a fantastic venue, and the three bands that we had, three bands that were able to perform there before the concert season ended, all of the bands loved it. I don't think we will have any issues getting bands to come and perform at the pavilion. The question then becomes the funding of it. For those of you that heard about it, the Village of Egg Harbor brought in Johnny Lang to kick off their concert in the park performance season at the Peg Egan Center. I'm not sure how many of you are aware, but the Village of Egg Harbor pays a consultant $18,000 to just to book bands and to work on promotion of the performance pavilion in Egg Harbor. That doesn't count the money that they then have to spend on bringing in the acts. Egg Harbor brought in Johnny Lang at the beginning of this year to the tune of $30,000. $40,000, thank you. That is something that anecdotally I have been looking into as far as what the ROI was for the businesses, and I've heard mixed feelings and mixed reports. So that's something that as Sister Bay Advancement goes forward and we look at potentially bringing in some bigger acts, that's something that we have to consider. Because as it currently stands, the business community tells us that, yes, okay, although our concerts in the park may bring people into town on Wednesday, that doesn't necessarily translate into people walking into their businesses. Many of them have told me that they could potentially even shut down when we have concerts. Now, Jess Grassi may be able to add something different as far as people going into the restaurants before and after, but we can talk about that at a different point in time. One of the things that Sister Bay Advancement is doing as a potential cost saver, we found out this last winter that we can get major blockbuster films like The Big Lebowski for $250 a shot. You get it for $250 that enables you to show it to as many people as you want in the park. And we have the guy that runs the Film Fest that potentially would come and run a film series for us, which when you consider that our average band cost is about $600, $250 is quite a deal. So that's something that we're looking into integrating with the Concerts in the Park. We're not looking at eliminating the Concerts in the Park series. We're just looking at doing some alternating and some, just kind of change it up. The other thing to note, every community in Door County now has Concerts in the Park. Sister Bay started it 26 years ago, Ron came, about 26 years ago. At that time, it was novel. It was a new thing. It was really cool. It was unique. Now it's not anymore. And talking with the other coordinators, they too are saying the same thing, that, okay, you know, we're all competing for the same audience. We call them the concert hoppers that go from because every day is different. And Shane knows that Fish Creek is on I can literally list of which days the community concerts are on. One of the things that I have done, and this might be news to some of my board members, I did start talking with the Door Community Auditorium. I will be meeting with Carrie Lewis within the next couple of weeks to talk to her about some of the things that we could partner with the auditorium doing, either both up here at the new pavilion or down in the auditorium potentially in the winter. One of the things that our Film Fest committee had talked about was doing some things with the auditorium down at the, doing some things with the Film Fest down at the auditorium, just to kind of do some cooperative marketing, because as all of you know, they get a lot of people that come in, a lot of people that have money that support the auditorium, and that's a market that we could potentially tap into for Sister Bay Advancement. See? Again, I will kind of skim over these a little bit. One thing that's kind of fresh on everybody's mind, Fall Fest. This is the 69th annual Fall Fest. I believe next to the Bailey's Harbor 4th of July festivities, it is the longest continuously running festival in Door County. We merchandised Fall Fest for the first time this year, for the first time in years this year. Did some clothing, did some mugs. Sales went well. I am still working on inventory right now, so I don't have hard numbers for you. And additionally, we did some other grassroots efforts, I think you would say. You know, we hosted a game. We put out donation buckets at the info tent, and people did give donations for wristbands. Excuse me for a second. Preliminary numbers on wristbands. The wristbands that I've gotten back so far, and I haven't gotten back everybody's, we're at about 6,500 wristbands that were given out. So it helps us. And also anecdotally, again, I'm still waiting for the final report, but the ATM contractor that we hired, which means he brings in 3 machines. 2 machines sit right next to my office on Mill Road, and the other ones was up at the Cupcake Heaven this year. He put $44,000 into those 3 machines. That money was all gone. I don't know, both the Bowl and Husby's both have ATM machines. The last time I talked to the Bowl, they put about $30,000 into their ATM machine. So, and I'm not sure how much Husby's put in, but I will have those numbers. So, I mean, early guesstimation is about $100,000 in cash that was taken out of ATM machines in Sister Bay. That's not counting Bay Lake Bank. I have no idea how much came out of the banks. Well, that's $100,000 that went immediately back into our community. And that's after people blew through all the money they had in their wallets that they came with. It's pretty significant. One of the coups, and when I told Denise Berto about this today, she went, really? Was I've been working with the Family Centers of Door County. They're going to bring their children's Christmas store to our Capture the Spirit event, which I don't know if any of you are familiar with the children's Christmas store. That is something, and I'm not even that familiar with it. From what I've been told, it is a significant thing that brings a lot of people to the community, and it's a really just a good event for kids and families. And yeah, okay. Since I started in 2010, Sister Bay Advancement Association has grown membership by 15%. And when you factor in the struggling business community that Sister Bay has been dealing with, as well as the struggling national economy, I think that's something fairly commendable. 2013, don't ask me about 2013. I don't know what happened. We lost a few, and when you have 147, you lose a few, and it kind of has an impact on your numbers. Go ahead. These next few questions are questions that were put out to our business members and before the fall dinner, and I asked them to give me responses about what kinds of marketing dollars they would be able to spend, what kinds of marketing and advertising venues they would be interested in, and any ideas they had for helping bring people to town during the construction hurdles that we as a community are going to be jumping the next couple years. We had varied responses. More people responded at the dinner than they did necessarily before I sent out the email. So as you can see, the numbers on the left are the number of people that responded. We had about 4 that responded. Go ahead, Zeke. I threw out some options, and a lot of people, rather than typing in their own response, kind of clicked on options. But this kind of gives you a little taste of some of that. One thing as far as college alumni groups that I'm looking into, there's a UW Stout, which has a very significant hospitality program, has career fairs twice a year. They have one in the fall, which just happened to be October 15th, so that one wasn't going to happen for Paige. But there is one, I think it's either March 3rd or 4th, and that is something that Sister Bay Advancement Association will be looking at potentially putting into our budget. I have already started talking to some of our business members about, I talked to Britt Ungefer, for example, and said, okay, Britt, thinking about doing this, because I know, and Shane can attest to this too, I'm sure, everybody needs more staffing, or specifically kids that are people that are trained in or wanting to go into the hospitality business. And to be able to go to Stout and say, okay, Beerzot they're looking for a head chef. Open Hearth Lodge is looking for a front desk manager. And, I potentially could do some internship kind of things. Julie's Park Cafe, is looking for a restaurant manager or a restaurant/hotel manager. To be able, I think one of the disconnects that we've had with staffing in Door County is that so many people have gone outside, and when I say outside, I mean outside of our country, to try and find staff for various reasons. And one of the biggest demographics that Door County has relied on has been, and I say when I relied on past, has been summer workers. I can count on every finger and toe the number of friends that I have that when they were in high school and college, they came up here and worked, and then subsequently are now coming back here to own businesses or to buy their homes and work remotely. And if we don't have that next generation of business owner and tourist, which we can easily cultivate through the people that come here and work, we're going to lose people. We're going to lose that next generation of money. This is one of the questions. This is something that Zeke and I have talked about doing a kind of a 2-week-long push. The reason for a 2-week-long push is there is a GEM grant, a Joint Effort Marketing Grant through the state of Wisconsin. And it is and Zeke, you can probably talk a little bit more about the fine details, but that is something that that marketing grant would cover. It's to get you to do an event, do a couple of smaller events or potentially larger events, and do a large marketing cooperative advertising push to bring people into your community at a time where it could be a challenge or marketing and tourism are generally a little bit lower.
If I could jump in on that, Jack, that may be something we need your help with. The last conversation I had with the Department of Tourism, they bluntly told us that Sister Bay, Liberty Grove, and Washington Island were too small. And that unless we got Jack Moneypenny involved in writing the grant, that the level of funding that we would receive would likely be very minuscule compared to if we involved you in writing the grant. I'm quoting that almost verbatim, and I'm saying it in a public meeting. So I'm super frustrated with the Department of Tourism over that. Okay?
I don't know what to say.
You're the man, Jack. That's what the Department of Tourism told me. You're the man.
I wasn't on the call, but,
Yeah.
the grants, you jumped through a lot of hoops. We just got one for $20,000.
Yep.
And it
Yep.
took us a month to write it, so
Yep.
they're not easy.
This just kind of gives you, what we ask people, what ideas do you have to motivate and attract people to come to Sister Bay and Liberty Grove during the construction time or potentially during a 2-week push. And these were some of the things, some of the comments that we received back. Again, we asked our business owners what types of businesses, and this one I found kind of interesting. What types of businesses do you think the village and SBAA should focus on attracting? And this just wasn't for the construction period, but this was for the foreseeable future. And this is something you probably have to take a look at once you get it closer in front of you, because I think that the outdoor retail, I think that's that big purple chunk on the right side. When I say outdoor retail, Bayshore outdoor type business, kayak rentals, ecology sports, that's what I was, and when I gave the examples for the question, that's what I used as examples. The second biggest response was casual dining, and Dave will appreciate this. It was casual takeout dining. It was, where can I get something quick to go? Beers Out has put in their Macho Taco stand behind the restaurant, and already just I think it was open for like a month, maybe a month and a half. And in that short period of time, when I talked to Britt about 3 weeks ago, he looked at me, his jaw dropped, and he said, we had no idea. Already, I think it is turning very much into a teenager hangout, which is great, because that will draw the teenagers to the beach. Pros and cons, of course, as some people will say, but you know what? If they're coming, their parents are going to come too. Just some ideas for that came about what suggestions do you have for the Village and SBA to focus on as we continue to work on economic development, work in conjunction with the Village of Sister Bay and their Economic Marketing Committee, which our board member Larry Guida sits on. One of the things I thought was kind of interesting was a reality TV show. I think what somebody was thinking of was the Hotel Impossible that Bailey's Harbor went through last year, which there was mixed response from the owners of the hotel. But some of those are, I think, very pertinent and things that we could actually put into practice. This is a profit and loss sheet. One of the things that has been requested of Sister Bay Advancement Association is a P&L. Zeke, we're not going to go through this because it's like 12 pages long. But this is for you guys to review at your leisure. So I am here formally asking you for for $50,000 for 2015. That money has enabled us, Sister Bay Advancement Association, to grow the organization, to continue on the progressive path that the Village of Sister Bay has been on, and especially as we move into 2, hopefully not 3 years, of what will be a very challenging time for both our business community and our residents with the construction of Highway 4257. I'd love to ask you for more money, but I'm aware that there's some things that are not, there's some debt coming due that is unavoidable. And if anything, during construction, we will potentially need as much money, as much focus, as much attention as we possibly can put into marketing and to bringing people into Sister Bay. One of the things actually that Ron Kane mentioned tonight, or previously before the meeting, he said not only do we need to focus on bringing people into town during the construction, but then that 3rd year, we then have to reinvent ourselves, because the people that, I'm not going there, they're under construction, I'm not going to deal with it. We have to convince them to come back to Sister Bay. We're going to have to put more money into doing things like sending a photographer, if not multiple photographers, out to get photos of all of the new amenities. When I say new, recently constructed amenities that will make Sister Bay an attractive place to live. So that is something to consider as we move forward. That's what I've got. Questions, comments? I'm going to go sit down. And yes.
Thank you, Paige.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions of Paige? I'll make a motion that we authorize the funding in the next budget year for the $50,000 for SBAA.
I will second that motion.
Any other discussion?
I think there's been comments made about trying to have the village and the SBA have the same agenda or feeling about what they're doing for the village. And I think that's a good thing for both sides. Do we want to try to develop objectives, goals, so that people can be on the same page with, here's the plan, here's kind of measurement of what we're spending the money on, doing for, and this is wonderful, very good presentation, I like it. But in an effort to help both sides, because I think there's potential difference of opinions of, you know, what happens. And a lot happens, and it's a lot of great stuff, but
There was a mention at the SBA meeting too that during the course of the next year too, if each trustee would volunteer or work on one of the projects, or be a volunteer like Shane did all day at that, you know, for one of the events, that would help us get to know more what's involved in the events, how they play out, how they're helping the community. Like you said, things that can be improved or things that are going well. We'd have a lot better handle what's going on.
And I didn't mean to allude that things need to improve. It was
No.
just more general of.
No, but then we still have a better knowledge of what's happening.
Yeah.
Firsthand, actually being there.
I'd go a step farther than that, and that would be to say that in working with Paige and working with SBA, one of the challenges that the village sees going forward is an economic development. And for us to recruit hotel developers or other developers here, one of the challenges that face us, and Larry sits on the PMT with me, is one of the first things they look at is occupancy rates. And when we get down into our winter months or shoulder season months, if we don't have activity there, if we don't have things going on to draw people here, then we're not going to be able to recruit per our economic development plan, and may need to retool that significantly. To Mr. Duffy's sentiment, this year the village board has contemplated placing some monies in its CIP for marketing, and so that efforts are not duplicated between the two organizations. It would make sense to have some goals and objectives for both, so that we're not running over roughshod the same things. I'd also go out on a limb and tell you that I've now been here just a hair over a year, and this will be my candid observation of things, and that is that SBA has some expectations of the village that we don't live up to, and we have some expectations of SBA that they don't live up to. So we both have to find a way to coexist and meet in the middle, so that we can advance this community together.
Anybody else? Yeah, I agree with Zeke, I agree with what you said too. I guess I would like to see a small group of SBA and trustees sit down. Nora's going to be the liaison from the board for the SBA. That'll be finalized tonight. And get together and maybe work through some of what we think the issues are on both sides. Work through some of, as you said, some of the things that we need to lay down, that we both need to work on, and come to a consensus as to what that should be. And I see this as separate from, I know SBA comes back to us through the Parks Committee with the events, and we work through the structure of events and how things are going to be organized and what's going to be done as an event. I'm not talking about that. I don't think you're talking about that either. Right. So maybe we can start with you, Nora, and have a sit down with the board and another trustee or two, and see what issues we can commonly achieve common ground on. All right? You have other expectations, Zeke?
No, sir. I will tell you that just in doing some cursory research, and I'll pass this along to Paige as well, there's a number of other
non-governmental agencies and NGOs that have already gone through this process. If you just type in Google, performance measurement for downtown redevelopment organizations, you'll find oodles of stuff related to measurement, goal setting, the whole gamut of what it is to build a relationship between the two organizations.
And I think some of it is just some confusion between the two organizations. I know the village board previously, I think we were giving $25,000, the board agreed to up that to $50,000 to assist SBA in their efforts. We required or asked at that time that quarterly financials be given to the board, which SBA has complied with, of course. And we continued the funding that on a quarterly basis for the quarterly payments of the $50,000. And there's been discussion about what else maybe we should be asking for or looking for. And I would expect the same from SBAA, what they are looking for or asking for, rather than formalize those questions, formalize those issues, rather than hearing it. Somebody will say, oh, somebody says this or that. Well, okay, fine, somebody said that. Is that what we want to do? So let's sit down and have those kinds of discussions and see where we can go, where we can make it better. Julianne?
In the interim, I think it would be interesting to the village to receive a copy of the report that Jack Moneypenny mentioned, that they submit quarterly as to.
We have those on file.
We do have those.
When I attend the TZC meetings, all those packets we get, they're located in the.
No, I think she's
No, no.
talking, I'm sorry,
SBA.
she's talking about the one page sent to us.
Yes.
Got it, I'm sorry,
Okay.
I misspoke, I
Yeah.
thought you were talking your information.
Because that contains a list of the various efforts that have been made, right? How did you describe that, Jack? Am I correct?
It's using the SCP funds.
Right.
It only deals with SCP funds.
I understand that, but it still might give a sense of,
Julian, you'll see that in the profit and loss, and that information is all being included in that quarterly profit and loss that we submit.
that detail is there?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I would imagine.
I haven't, all I've seen is financial.
What you would see in Jack's paperwork is just for that segregated amount from strategic community partnership dollars. It wouldn't be for the totality of the organization.
So you actually, the village gets more detail
Than what Jack gets. Yeah.
Okay.
I guess I'll go out on a limb. One thing I'd like to see is a P&L per event, and I know they've just started to work on that. We've worked together to produce that, to analyze what's positive, where do we need to make more investments, and what does the community need to do to step up and help with those events. It goes both ways.
Does that sound doable?
I think, well.
Denise?
I have a question, if I may.
Sure.
This conversation is a little bit very new to me, what the board has been talking about tonight. And I guess I'm curious, is there a working relationship problem between the village and SBAA?
I'd say at the staff level, not at all.
And I don't think necessarily at the board level either. But there's been a number of questions raised by a couple of board members, and there's been a couple of questions raised by some people from SBAA, some business owners, as to what the relationship is and what it should be going forward.
Okay.
And that's where it comes from.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, so we have a motion to approve the funding for 2015 in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you.
And also a quick, just very much thank you again to the village staff.
especially the Parks crew for all their help with Fall Fest. Thank you. I know it is a significant financial contribution with staffing to help Sister Advancement put Fall Fest on. One of the, Shane and I were kind of joking that it takes a village to put on Fall Fest, and it really does. So.
Big things. Anyone, you want to go, otherwise I'm going to jump around a little.
Go, we want to get, just call it off. If you want to seek some input from the business community, item number 3 may be fortuitous.
Yeah. Go to item number 3, consider a motion to accept a proposal from Vanderwall and Associates for Economic Development in the CIP for 2014 to fund the proposal.
I will tell the board that my board report on this was rather lengthy and may be considered by the Economic Development Committee before further action here, but I was under a bit of a time crunch, and this commentary goes back to Larry and Greg. We met the Economic Development Committee project management team and identified some key areas for action, one of them being to reanalyze the TIF and to see if there were additional revenues that we could take advantage of with the result of recent changes in state legislation. In talking with our financial advisor, the answer is no, and that's who Vanderwall and Associates would be working with, is through our financial advisor to identify those things. So that one piece of Vanderwall's proposal, which is probably the one that had the most merit, maybe in general for the village, is the one that doesn't seem to be able to go anywhere. So the two pieces that are really left, we discussed producing some marketing materials, sell sheets for the remaining 2 properties. If you all, I don't know for the new board members, you may not be aware, there was a redevelopment plan set up for the village, and it identified 4 properties in the downtown as core properties to be redeveloped. 2 of which were owned by the village. One of them was the old school property, which currently has 2 offers on it. The other one being the old Hilms Cottage property, which DOT is moving forward with purchasing as part of their 6F process, and we also have a private developer interested in the balance of that property. So that leaves the remaining 2 private properties. At a previous meeting, you all had agreed to allocate up to $25,000 for economic development. I threw on the table tonight in the board report a further idea to say that, you know, if our private property owners are willing to move forward with the sell sheet, what they had agreed to contribute was $2,000. That would basically be the sum of the production value of the sell sheet. Maybe we could look at allocating those funds elsewhere, with the Hilms Cottage property being taken over by a parking lot in a substantial nature to enhance parking for the beach, and I have to say that on record, to enhance parking for the beach. Sorry, yeah. We will need to relocate our farmers market operations and may look to enhance that in some fashion. I've had some conversation with Mr. Braun, who's amenable to using his property. There may be other properties that we want to discuss. We may want to refer this out to another committee, but again, given that there was some urgency to the sums of money offered by Mr. Casperson and Mr. Braun, again, $2,000 apiece, I needed to bring this before the board tonight for some kind of action. Be it referral out to study, to move forward with the Vanderwall and Associates proposal, given that the TIF piece is already out of it. Do we want to assist them financially with the sell sheets? How do we want to move forward?
How much does it cost to do the sell sheets?
Roughly $2,000 to $4,000, depending on what goes into it. And really, that's graphic design work. How many renderings are done of potential buildings, what things could be there conceptually.
So I guess I'm a little confused. Maybe we're muddying the waters.
Yes, sorry.
There's 2 things here. One is to approve the Vanderwall and Associates contract to go ahead with the sell sheets, and
Okay, there's not a contract, there's a
I'm sorry,
proposal of which
sorry.
we could pick through the
Right.
bits and pieces that we wanted to do.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Just to approve a proposal.
Yes, sir.
To move forward. And the second piece that money is in here for
would be referred to, as far as I'm concerned, the Economic Development Committee,
Yes.
for them to put together how they would do a number of things you've got listed
Sure,
here,
sure.
whether they would agree with them or not.
Sure.
What you would do with the farmer's market, the relocation of it, use of the Braun property for
Right.
whatever the purpose is.
Yes.
Okay.
I
Clarify that,
apologize
okay?
for putting all that in one board report. It was me thinking fluidly.
Okay, that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the question on the table really is, do you want to engage Vanderwall and Associates in producing sell sheets, given that the two village properties have essentially transacted, that the TIF piece really is not there, and I've not had the courtesy or the opportunity to talk to Greg about this ahead of time, which is why I wanted to move this up on the agenda, get Greg's input on this, what value you thought there would at this point in the game be, if you want to talk about it in this session, or...
Are you prepared to say anything, Greg?
Seeing I just heard this,
Yeah.
and I guess I can't speak for Arthur either, I don't know if you've talked to him, so.
No. This came out to me about 3 days ago.
3 days ago.
Yeah. When I had our financial advisor working on it, this came back.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to putting the money in, we talked about, talk to Arthur and see what can we develop at that amount, because there's some other stipulations with part of that.
Right.
If the property is sold, parts of it will go back into the village to offset other costs, too. I imagine it's pretty hard for the board to vote on it tonight.
Right. From the project management team, I believe November, we had to have a decision.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to get it out here early so we could process through.
But I don't know, haven't talked to them, would they be willing to go ahead with, what do they need for basic cost then?
Vanderwall?
Yeah.
On a time and material basis, 5,000 per month is what they're looking at.
Yeah, free, from my perspective, I'm willing to go along with what we talked about. It's up to the village if they want to go in as part of the development of downtown, with the understanding there are probably more assets going back into the village or to the payment if the property sold, rather than upfront, the percentage that we talked about.
Right.
2,000 was something we agreed about, 4,000.
Right. But that was
Which would be
also,
somewhat equivalent to what the public, we put into the public in the original process, getting it developed, for the village. So I don't have a problem if the village wants to roll over. I think it's going to help. Nothing else than more attention to the village. We're talking, to York County Economic Development and Bill Schuler while we're going through it. They basically said that's what you need.
right, it is.
For that.
It is. Sell sheets need to be done to, I guess, put some of that in perspective. I think it took DC, EDC, and Sturgeon Bay the better part of 2 years, spending close to $10,000 a month, working with Vanderwall and Associates to recruit a developer in and put together a package that would allow them to move forward with the new waterfront development they have going on down there. It is, I think you guys need to pat yourselves on the back. It's virtually unheard of for a community this size really to pour this kind of effort in economic development. Even have a plan, a physical plan in place is a huge accomplishment. It really becomes a question of how do we want to move forward. At finance, we had discussed allocating, I believe it was $15,000 as a sum for this coming year.
Okay, so how about, in the budget for this coming year, we have the $15,000. There was
Yes, sir.
$25,000 allocated in 2014.
It wasn't that, but you actually are at a deficit right now, close to 50,000.
Okay. I'm sorry. The board approved an amendment to fund $25,000 for economic development.
You did approve an amendment for economic development based on a contingency of contributions that would come from the private sector. Those contributions fell through,
Okay.
and so that amendment died.
Okay, so the money is not set aside.
Correct.
Okay. So you're asking for, the finance committee has recommended $15,000 be
Yes.
put in the budget for, the CIP budget for 2015.
Yes.
Okay. So that'll come up through the November budget
Yes. Process.
process. Okay. So is there something specific you're asking for tonight Or should this go ahead and be referred to the Economic Development Committee, and can they turn it around at the time that you're asking for the Vanderwall and Associates sell sheet? 'Cause as I understand it, you're talking about getting the sell sheets done.
Yes.
To the tune of about $4,000.
That would be correct, sir.
What's
Yeah.
this monthly occurrence of $5,000?
That was Vanderwall and Associates' initial proposal, and that can be tooled up or down based on what we want to do.
But can
I
we get the sell sheets without doing any monthly?
Yeah.
Yes.
I guess I have a hard time, I wasn't aware of this part when we looked at it at finance. I have a hard time looking at something when, the reason we justified putting the amount of money in, from what I understand, because I wasn't on the board at that point when they approved the money, was that we had properties we were selling, so it was a community project. But now, if we continue, and no offense to Greg or Braun, we're now selling two private persons' properties. If we continue to put money into the sell sheet, I think that's a great idea. I mean, they are fronting the money for that, so let's finish it, because we have the stake in it, we have the, I guess, the information about it.
And that's where I was going.
Yeah, and I think let's do that. That's great, because we can help facilitate that much faster than, because it's there, the information's there. But to continue to drop $5,000 a month, tooled up or tooled down, however you want to do it, but to drop money in to sell a private residence property, I understand the economic impact in the future. I do understand that, but I think that's where our development plan is there for, so we can help facilitate that. But I think at this point, it's kind of, our properties we've achieved what we wanted to with our properties. And now to use taxpayer dollars to help sell two private, I have a hard time looking at that and saying, good idea.
Shane,
Unless I'm completely missing something,
Well,
but I don't see it as,
in terms of the part of the Vanderwall, in terms of the pieces of the Vanderwall proposal that we could readily complete, the last thing on that list before we launch into more grand things, such as a market walkway concept, would be the sell sheets.
which I'm okay with that. I think that's fine, but I think the monthly, because it was hard to kind of get through this, but
I
with
apologize.
the,
It was,
with the additional monthly expense for two private properties, it's
Right.
hard for me to say, no,
This
I
is-
can't say
actually,
yes to
let
that.
me- I'll tell you where all of this came from, okay? Right now, the village has transacted or is getting ready to transact two properties that may or may not be considered arm's length transactions. I think for Greg's, it's not the case at all. That's my opinion. That's not an assessor's opinion. That's Zeke's opinion. For the Braun property, it's a much different case. And so what we have is a huge disparity between the asking price and what the market will demand. We have transacted the old school property, which is approximately 3 acres at $415,000. Our waterfront property on Mill Road is appraised roughly by DOT at $490,000. So a comparable piece of property, that Mill Road property is roughly an acre at $490,000. To ask 1.6, 1.8, $2 million for a piece of property that's double that size, not a waterfront property, we're in two different worlds, okay? However, as a village, we have a duty, because we've engaged in this plan and we've started down this road, to help through that marketing process. What I put together here in your board report by saying, let's create an incubator, let's take this over to economic development, have them considered as an incubator, was the second thought beyond this. It was the logical conclusion to how to get that property developed. Where we are right now, though, is sell sheets.
To your point, though, I agree that that's a potential keystone property and would add value to the village at large. However, if there's a significant disparity between the reality and one's perception, I think you're throwing good money after bad.
Not necessarily, Pat. You know, there are a number of factors that go into this. Right now, we have some properties that we're able to sell off, and we made a decision to sell off because we needed to fund some projects without acquiring additional debt. Once those projects are in place, the beach, the overhead utility lines, widening of the sidewalks, and resurfacing of the roadway,
fancy new parking lot and development in the downtown, development on the old school lot. That provides some incubator for some other things for the private property owners, that now there's some action taking place. So the sell sheets may not be for naught, and we may see property values rebound. Just the economic impact from the beach project going in. I had to pull this data out to put together one of the grants that we got. It's going to be about $260,000 in increased property value in the TIF just because the beach is going in.
And I'm not saying the sell sheet shouldn't be done. I mean, especially if they're funding that, I think that's a good idea. You have the plan, but to Shane's point, to be spending additional money when you're not on the same page with the seller, and it's solely for private, seems like a conflict of interest to the taxpayer.
What I was going to suggest after I was reading this and thinking about it was, go ahead and do the sell sheets and get that done. Leave the $15,000 in the CIP, but give the project to the Economic Development Committee and reactivate that and see what they want to do with those monies and that incubator concept or whatever. That gets the sell sheets for the two properties that we are going down that line. It keeps the funding intact for us to take a look at what we want to do without spending any money. It doesn't proceed any further with the Vanderwall and Associates monthly, because we don't even know what we want to do with it.
We'd come back and we'd ask them to do a proposal just defined on the sell sheets. And I asked them for an estimate on that way back when I first started, and it was between $1,500 and $2,500 to produce.
Okay.
That was their rough estimate, but again, 2 to 4 would probably be a safe number.
So when I'm comfortable with going to 2 to 4 to do the sell sheet produce, leave the CIP money in next year's budget, unless it's changed at the public hearing and the board at some other point, and not do anything further with Vanderwall Associates, but turn over that quote funding to, potential funding to the Economic Development Committee.
I would say there's, and I'd ask Larry to speak up on this as well, there's one more piece to this that Vanderwall and Associates could bring to the table, and that's the developer recruitment process. And I know we've had a number of conversations about that. Do you have any weigh in there?
I know that the development recruitment process, is one of the reasons we selected Vanderwall in the first place. I think the water got muddied a bit in respect of what we thought we were going to get with the plan that was put together. We felt that they were going to help along that line, and that hasn't happened to this point. And I think that it would benefit to take and, I guess, say reenact or get the committee back active, because the committee hasn't met in a year or longer. Not that there wasn't a desire to meet, it just, for whatever reason, hasn't, we haven't done that, and I think that there's other things we could do with the committee, maybe even without cost, that's going to take and benefit the community as a whole, and get that committee back up and running. But I think, I can surely have some conversations with Vanderwall, because being able to get some developers up here to look at what we've got to offer as a community, I think would be a benefit. But here again, it's a cost-benefit basis. What's it going to cost to do that? Is there a benefit? And I think as a group, that the committee would maybe have the ability to take and weigh in on that and bring it back to the board to see as to whether it makes sense with part of the funds that might be allocated to the committee. If that's something that can be done, and we feel as taxpayers in the community, that that's going to take and bring, possible potential development to the community, that's going to weigh into additional tax dollars that would come in or help fund the TIF district. So I would be very much in favor of taking it to the next step and probably get that committee up and running to then be able to bring some information back to you folks to where you can make a decision.
I'll make that a motion.
What's your motion?
The motion would be to provide the approximately $4,000, give or take, to produce the sell sheets that we had talked about and agreed upon previously, to not proceed any further with Vanderwall Associates' proposal at this point in time, to leave the $15,000 in the CIP funding as proposed in next year's budget, and to turn that funding over to the Economic Development Committee to evaluate what and where we should go next.
Sir, if I could ask a clarification question on
Sure.
that.
the $4,000 that you're speaking of to go ahead and produce the sell sheets, are you referring to those monies coming from our CIP or from private sources?
Well, we agreed that we would fund it, it would eventually come back from private sources when those.
Okay, once those properties have sold?
Right.
Okay.
That's part of the funding that we've already set aside.
Yeah.
So then it would
No.
be less the 15 from the CIP.
No, right now you were negative $34,839 in your redevelopment planning TIF.
In the tip.
Okay.
In TIF, yes.
And here's the unfortunate part about this. You guys actually got a grant to cover all of that. When the Department of Administration consolidated with WEDC, some of WEDC's functions got handed over. I've done my best to track this down, and I can't get my hands on it, neither can anybody in either of those departments.
It's out there somewhere.
So we have money, but we don't know where
don't
it
know where it
is.
You don't have money,
Awesome.
it's disappeared into Scott Walker's coffers somewhere. I would make a recommendation that you take a look at possibly pulling that 4,000 from your skate park slab. This is a line item to identify me, you could pull it from anywhere, but right now that project's not going anywhere.
Why wouldn't we pull it from the 15 that's set
Yeah,
aside for next year? This is the economic development for that. Let's not add $4,000 more
Will it be
to
done in
it.
14 or in 15?
It'll be done in 14.
Be done in 14.
That's,
We're looking for 60-day terms, get it produced, we'll pay you January 1st.
okay.
It's October 20th. They can't possibly expect payment before January 1st at this point. Get them on it, send us an invoice November 1st, we'll pay you January 1.
What am I missing? Where is the 15,000?
It's not, it's in next year's CIP, it's in next year's
It's
budget.
not even in next year's CIP at this time.
Should be.
Yeah, it should be.
We had the discussion about the 25, we dropped it down to 15, considering we're hoping we can, yes.
Unless I made a
Yeah,
error
there's a
somewhere.
large-
It would appear from Juliana's face that I have. No, 15 should be there.
I was thinking, 15 for signage,
That,
50 for marketing.
all right, we'll go back and adjust this. That, streets resurfacing that we retooled, we'll pull from there.
That was only 8,500.
We'll pull the total from that.
What page so we'll leave it to you to find where
We'll-
to shift it
we'll
from.
make that happen.
And finance will approve it at this next meeting for the transfer, right?
Yes,
Prior to approving the budget for next year,
yes, sir.
right?
So is this right then?
Try it.
That the village board authorizes the expenditure of $4,000 for creation of sell sheets in 2014. At this time, the village will not proceed any further with Van de Wallace and Associates proposal and will leave the $15,000 in the 2015 CIP. Should that say the economic development, or in the 2015 economic development CIP?
No, doesn't need to say that.
Okay, so that's right then, okay.
And just as a point of clarification, whatever we spend on this comes out of that 15, it's not in addition to. The way that I would
Yeah.
interpret that might be that we're spending, and should be up to 4,000, hopefully it'll be less if the,
Yeah.
last year was 15 to 25, if it's 15 to 25, all the better. Up to 4,000, which would be part of potential 15 that's being earmarked, waiting for approvals before
As long
expenditures.
as we can find it, wherever it is.
Okay, sell sheets, did you get this one? Not receiving. We'll leave the $15,000, how do I identify that $15,000?
Just write 15,000 CIP.
Okay. 15,000 in the 2015 CIP. Okay, the $4,000 shall be withdrawn from what account?
That's same account.
CIP.
Shall be withdrawn from, because you gotta put in there in January, from the CIP account in January 2015, right? Do you want me to read it again this time? Because it's about as clear as mud.
Go ahead.
That the village board authorizes the expenditure of no more than $4,000 for creation of sell sheets for properties identified as having development potential in 2014. At this time, the village will not proceed any further with Van de Waal and Associates proposal and will leave the $15,000 in the 2015 CIP. The $4,000 shall be withdrawn from the CIP account in January of 2015.
Does anything need to be made about them, about the sellers recontributing it?
That's
Same
an agreement
point of
we
sale.
look out separately. We've already got one version on the table. We have to have a P&T meeting, and
So it
you
doesn't
can
need
make
to be a
You
motion?
can make it subject to the agreement.
Okay.
Okay, so,
subject to repayment upon sale of the properties.
this arrangement shall be subject to payment what?
Subject to repayment upon sale of the properties.
Okay.
Okay, is everybody clear as mud now?
Clear as mud.
Yes.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Dude,
Opposed?
we didn't have a second.
Oh, I'm sorry, give me a second.
I'll second it if you need one.
I'm sorry, I thought Pat did. Okay. While we're on consultants,
Yeah, okay. That's a good day to do that one.
that's great. Number 4, consider a motion to amend the contract with JJR, adding additional services for contract administration and site inspections of the Sister Bay Beach expansion project. And it kind of goes at number 5, but
Yep.
we'll get to that next.
Right now, the contract with Van de Wall and Associates
Not
provides.
Van de Wall.
Oh,
With
JJR, I'm sorry. Smith Group JJR provides for some supervision of the installation and construction of the beach project. Given the nature of the project, I don't feel that that is an adequate sum, and so I've asked them to come back with a secondary proposal to add on to what would be approximately 4 site visits. This would be an additional 4 site visits for them to inspect, for example, quality of stone going in, sand layout, underwater excavation. I should remind the board that we're under some threat of litigation on this as well, so I want to make sure it's done right.
Who picked the 8 to begin with? That was JJR proposed that based on the scope of the project?
That came way back before me.
We asked them to scale back. If you recall, when they had the original proposal, the bids came in high, we asked them to scale back as best they could in all areas, and that was one of the areas they scaled back.
Okay.
They didn't recommend it, but that was an area that they scaled back in.
Okay.
Julianne?
Could we amend the fiscal impact to read additional engineering fees plus $2,720 per visit for additional site visits? Because it looks like that's the total.
Yes.
Okay, so what is the total?
Well, it depends on how many more visits. And I guess I would put back on them. If the I would hope the original one with the 8, they would be making sure we've got, I mean, if there was.
Well, originally, they wanted 12 to 15.
Okay,
We asked them to cut back, they cut it back to 8,
okay,
reluctantly.
okay. But hopefully they're looking at the big stuff of, the stone I thought was coming from some specified quarry of 50 to 100-year stone and whatever else.
I wouldn't bring this to you if, 1, the bids didn't come in where they came in, and 2, if I weren't looking at some of the finer details of what's taking place. For example, we opened this up, the bidders to go out and seek a Army Corps of Engineers certified level of stone, not necessarily one that comes from an Army Corps of Engineers certified quarry, which would save significantly on the quarried cost of the stone. That also means, as part of their alternate, you'll see this in the contract, that they will hire a geologist to go out and certify that. Well, okay.
So they say they did, but.
It's easy enough to bring
you want
in one
somebody to
truckload of
inspect.
stone and say, this is that spec stone, right? We've had the geologist certify this, and now we're gonna go dump all this stone in the water.
Right.
Right? That's not what I want to happen. I want to make sure we're getting what we're paying for.
I think that's a wonderful idea. I'll just give you the scenario of the guy's gonna stand there and now 15 trucks pull up. How does he know they all came from the same quarry? I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad thing to have additional engineering or whatever else, but just because the guy's there, you can't tell me, The trucks all came from
And
down
that's
the
also,
highway.
that's also Zeke's scenario that he's gonna stand there and check the rock. We don't know how he's gonna do it.
Right, you know,
They may not be
it's fine,
standing
this
checking
is
the rock.
what he said.
Right.
I just, you know, some of the stuff, but, yeah, enough. It's fine. If this will super whammy confirm that we're getting what we're supposed to and paying millions of dollars for, and we have to pay them extra for it, so be it.
Pat, here's what I'm worried about, some point in the future, right? We're gonna put this thing in.
But Zeke, I apologize to cut you off. We paid all this money to the same firm, and we're told up and down we weren't gonna have the problems that we've had at the marina, and we had the certified engineer do this stuff, and we got no recourse, and they basically told us, sorry. Go buy thousands of dollars worth of equipment, spend thousands of dollars on damage after we put the equipment in there, and don't have boats that fit the right way because they decided to alter the plans. Now we want to have them guarantee us that we're gonna do it again. I got no faith we're getting anything better, but fine, if this is what you wanna do, I've said my piece. I am abstaining from the vote on giving these guys another penny.
So the issue is you still need somebody to inspect it.
Yes, sir.
So.
JJR's gonna be there 8 times
Under the current.
under the current contract.
Can you do the additional inspections as required? In other words, if they can do it in 8, they do it in 8? If it takes
Yes.
10, you do it in 10?
If they could
Instead of
do it
saying it's
in
gonna be
8.
an automatic extra 4?
If they could do it, Nate, they could do it, Nate. I could tell you from managing your last utilities project, that the more on-site inspection that there is, the better. The problem is we don't have anybody on our staff who's a geologist or who's expert in these things, as opposed to when we had our utility crews watching water and sewer lines going into the ground. I used to teach art environmental science. I'm sure I could stand out there and take a stab at it. That's really not gonna get you the level of qualification that you are gonna be looking for on this.
To me, I would think what you're looking for is somebody at the quarry saying, here's my signature saying this is every ounce of stone that we're giving you meets this spec.
I'm looking for it.
So that if it breaks down 20 years from now, we go back to that signature and we say, we want more stone.
Okay, so we're gonna, part of this, in order to save money on the project, was to recover sheet piling that's existing there now, and then to re-drive that sheet piling in the middle of the breakwater. Just on the other side of that breakwater, we have the yacht club, right? So all of that, this whole design has been to mitigate movement of sand particles over into the yacht club, which would then necessitate them to go through additional dredging. I'm trying to prohibit a problem in the future from coming up.
Well, I understand, and I mean, if they were to say they can't, you know, to me, engineers generally don't, in my humble opinion, under budget their resources. They pad themselves, or they're, I don't know. JJR knows us so well, we've been working, we've given them all this information. I would hope that they're properly contracting the project, is my point. If we see fit that additional resources are needed, so be it. I don't have to like it, I just.
Well, again, when they came in and bid the project, I believe you heard the president say, look, it's gonna take between 12 to 15 visits.
They said
to do
originally
this.
12 to 15 visits.
Yeah, we asked them, because of where the bids came in, to scale that back, and throughout all of my phone conversations with them, they've said, hey, we understand this is an area that you're identifying, that you want to cut cost, understand this is going to come with consequences. That's my job, guys, is to provide you all with options. I'm telling you, the best fit is to do this, $10,880.
They're already backpedaling, there's gonna be a problem, and they're not gonna do anything about it. I love it. We started the project.
I did, just for your.
So when we do, will they give us guarantee that if, when the problem arises, that they'll actually stand up and do something and not?
We always have the recourse to take them to court, and that's.
Wonderful.
I don't know if
35 years from now.
Right.
They are professional engineers. They put this through Wade modeling. They made recommendations, and their recommendation was 12 to 15 site visits to have this. What they will make an argument on, and it's recorded, I hate that it's recorded at this point, what they'll make an argument on later in court is, we told them we needed 12 to 15 site visits. They cut the budget back, now there's a problem.
Well, we did change the scope of the project, didn't we?
Not to that degree, sir.
So. Okay.
Well, by all means, I don't want them to have any leg to stand on if something goes wrong.
Yes, sir, and just so you know, we did look at taking this out to another engineering firm, and it would cost more money to have another engineering firm go through the rebid process and then come out and do site supervision. So just as an alternative, so we'd have one, we did that. I don't know how you guys feel about it.
All right, so somebody want to make a motion?
After that.
I'll make the motion. Don't let me sway.
Scott made the motion? Is there a second?
No second.
Come on, it's like pulling teeth, I know.
So we're going from 8 to 12, or?
You're going from 8 to 12.
Going
And
from 8 to 12.
So 12 to 15 was where they said
Recommended.
we
That's
should
what they
be.
recommended.
So in my humble opinion,
The
to
minimum
Pat's point,
recommended.
maybe this will make him feel better and make me feel better, we're within that scope of what they said they
Okay,
needed. And
exactly.
if something happens,
At the 12, you mean?
at the
Right.
12.
Yeah.
So paying, no, this is an additional?
This is an
Yeah,
additional.
because they took it out. They took it out to bring it down to the 8.
Okay.
This is what we cut from.
10,880.
We did a number of
is
things on this
right?
project, just as a reminder when we get back around this. One, we took away the requirement for a certified quarry stone, which was a 500-year rated stone. I don't know where the village is supposed to be. Being 500 years, that breakwater is gonna be there. So, 500-year rated stone sitting out there. We went, we looked, and we said, look, there's a quarry down here in Sturgeon Bay that meets the spec, right? They have a spec layer of stone that we can get at. Why wouldn't we quarry locally? It cuts down on the trucking cost, and there's no real need to have the stamp on it if it meets the standard. However, an independent geologist is going to need to verify that that is indeed the layer of stone that they got to, and that's the quality of stone that we're getting. Could we do a lesser quality stone? Yes, we could. With the freeze-thaw cycles that you have here, would it hold up for the length of time that we want it to? Arguably. We changed where we would haul the soil from, the excavated material, 7,000 cubic yards, from our beach project site, probably somewhere down to Green Bay. Instead, we decided to take it up to the sports complex and create a sledding hill out of it. So double bonus, not only did we save about $30,000 in hauling costs, but we got a really cool sledding hill out of the deal. Those are two of the majors that stand out to me, along with cutting the engineering fees for doing this to get it to where it needed to be.
I'll second the motion.
Is there a way to, I don't know how to describe, dole out the inspections?
Scale
So
it.
if it comes to number 8, and now we need, you determine, okay, yes, we can go to number 9. Okay, yes, we can go to number 10, without just automatically making it 12.
If you all can trust my gut at looking at how the project progresses and working with the contractor, yes, we can do that.
To a maximum of 12.
Yes.
Because I think with your education, we can get for 10,000, we could probably make you a geologist. I mean,
I was saying we can get them a diploma.
see there?
For $400, right? I happen to know, Shane, I mean, if we were to get really creative about this, not open up another can of worms, but where there happens to be a slightly underemployed geologist in our community.
Wendy's husband.
Just saying.
Well, and maybe they can tell us where the potential problem areas are. I mean, they should know, if they recommended 12, when are they? There's critical points. They need to be
Yes, sir.
here for this and for that and for this. Where do you need them? You know, and if there's something in there that you go, well, you know what, we can do that, or no, we can't, that's where you make the determination on, do you pay the money to do it or not, I would think.
Yeah, I bring up the space shuttle analogy, right? It's got 40,000 moving parts, all built by the lowest bidder, right? How safe do you really feel going up in that bad boy?
Except that all the nuts are about $10,000 nuts. Lowest bidder or not.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstaining.
Carried. Okay, item number 5.
Okay, can I do one thing? Okay, This rate Duffy voiced concerns about spending the additional money when JJR is already very familiar with the project and the components of it. Is that right?
Very
Sure.
nicely.
Okay.
Consider a motion to award a contract contingent upon grant funding to Death Star Marine for Sister Bay Beach Expansion Project in the amount of $1,150,535, including alternates 1 and 2 for surveying and stone testing. Consider a motion to authorize 5% overruns and change orders totaling $57,526.
If there's a typo on the front page, if you just read that right, should be $1,130,000.
So I'm just reading off the agenda.
Yeah,
Sorry.
got it.
So 1,000,000.
130.
Yeah, well, the 150 would put you the alternates there, that's what that is. And just so you're clear on what's going on, there's $1,130,035 for the contract, plus another $20,500.
Right, well, it says including alternates 1 and 2.
Yes, sir. If you'll look at your board report, I did make some math errors. I was looking at an old sheet for our CIP, allocated CIP. I've since gone back and corrected that. You've got a,
Talking about your expenditures?
yes, sir, the allocations down at the bottom, you've got roughly a $356,000 overrun on that, which is part of the budget process. We have a borrowing in place to take care of that. As well as a loan commitment from Bay Lake Bank to execute that. And you've already approved that.
So I'll make a motion by Lino.
Second.
Okay, so by way of explanation to those board members that have not been intimately involved in the finance committee in particular.
Yes, sir.
Through the budget process, if you look at the expenditure line, what we have is, you have the contract amount plus the alternates. We have taken a number of items, and you'll see them in the budget worksheet. And we've taken a number of items and put them into a line item for the beach project. Okay? So originally, 1.1 or $1.2 million is where we needed to get. We have the stewardship grant on its way for $489,000.
Plus another 22.
Plus another 22. We have the CIP line item for $693.
406.
406.
That was one my mistake.
Okay,
Was.
406. And the difference is
It's called $350,000.
$350,000. So we went from needing $1.2 million down to needing $350,000. Because we took CIP projects, other reserve funds, pulled them out of different places and plugged them into the budget to get to this number. So what the finance committee is recommending as part of this, and it's in the overall 2015 budget, is to borrow the $350,000 from Bay Lake Bank, as it says up above at the interest rate of 1.965 for 5 years to fund the project.
354.
Okay.
Juliana,
How much are we borrowing?
350 or 4 in the budget. So I remember us having a conversation about,
350, I think.
I thought that's my recollection as well.
Yeah. I think you said 320 and I
We said
made
together.
it 350 just in case.
Yeah.
Because I thought the borrow was just a little over 300, or what we needed, and we were giving
No, originally, when we got that note authorized from Bay Lake Bank, it was like 650 that we were thinking we were
Well,
gonna
no,
have to take out.
I'm
for this.
talking for budget, for project completion after the grants. It's a little over 300, I thought.
It was about 350.
Yeah.
Was it about?
Yeah. And this is gonna flex up and down. There will be some stuff that comes up as a result of it, and in the calculation, I put in a 5% overrun. That's where we try to keep things within tolerance of.
So as a result of Zeke chasing down the grants, that helped tremendously, of course, in the finance
Oh,
committee.
it's here. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's on page 19.
350.
Of the budget?
The 350 is
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah, I thought so.
Loan proceeds.
And so finance was able to pull reserve.
Well,
Actually,
that's
four.
Garrett.
No,
4 is for the beach.
400 in this year. 400. The 350 is a different project. Look on page 19 of the budget.
Debt issued, yeah.
Transposed.
No. That's what we decided.
5, and if there's
Okay.
4 in the CIP, you'd have 9. You shouldn't need 400
No.
loan, but
I
I think we set up to 400.
but it could have been less.
Yeah, we could amend this at 350, and by the way, this probably will end up being transposed after we're done with Garrett.
And now, I'm remembering now, it was supposed to be exactly 390, that's what I was told, and I made it 400 just to be safe.
Okay.
Well, where I was trying to go is we started out with a project 1.2 million, they were going to fund all of it. We're down to 350 to 400,000.
Okay.
And not have to do any long-term borrow, just a short 5-year borrow. Okay. So any other discussion, questions on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Before we go on, can I just clarify something about that previous motion?
How far back?
Okay, that the village board approves a contract amendment with Smith Group JJR for an amount not to exceed $10,880. Did you want to put anything in there about having discretion to do anything additional?
10,980 plus
Isn't it
2720.
per inspection?
I thought that's,
Or is that?
I'm
that's
sorry.
the totality
That's
of.
if we go
up to
beyond.
four.
It's
Right.
if you go
So
beyond.
it's just
Yeah.
at 10,880, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the 4 visits.
Okay. Okay, so then your motion, Dave, Pat, is that the village board accepts the bid of Death Star Marine in the amount of $1 million, blah, 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 for the construction of the Sister Bay Beach expansion project, plus $20,500 in alternates for surveying and stone testing, and authorizing the execution of a contract in that amount contingent upon formal approval of grant funding.
Yeah, sounds right.
Sounds right. Okay,
Yep,
we're
okay.
done? We're done? Okay.
Yep.
Let's do number 9, I'm gonna take a break, 5-minute break at 8 o'clock, so. Update on debt refinancing, advance refunding of December 2015 bond series, consider motion to direct staff to take action if necessary.
Okay, just operating
It'll
under
be
the
page
assumption.
66 in your Zoom.
Yep. Operating under the assumption you guys want us to try to save money wherever it is that we can save money. We have some bonds that are gonna come callable, later on next year. It's roughly $2.8 million. Have gotten some rulings back on this. It's not quite as simple as doing a bank borrow and moving ahead. There are some, advance refundings and callings, two different things. For us to take all of this debt and do an advance refunding on it, requires us to create an escrow to pay off the old bonds. The escrow's got to be invested in government securities, state and local government series. I'm still digging into this to figure out what it would take to do it. That was at the direction of the finance committee. However, with the callable series, I'll have to consult our investment advisor to see if we can just do a direct bank loan and pay those off since they've hit call date. Larry, unless you've got any weight in on that.
No, I'm not an expert on that.
Okay.
So what you're trying to do is call what we can call,
Yes.
borrow locally to reduce and refund.
Right.
Without refunding a bond, to reduce our overall interest
Interest.
cost over the next several years.
Yes, sir. We're looking at 4 to 5% interest on some of the bonds that we've got outstanding right now. Right now, we're able to get bank money at around 2%. It makes sense to look at trying to do this wherever we can.
And so you're asking us to authorize you to proceed and track these down?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you want to, I guess what I'm asking you is, we've had some conversation and debate about where we're going to go with debt. And I know there's some sentiment on the board that we want to pay debt down as quickly as we can. I also know there's some sentiment on the board that we structured the bonds the way that we did because we understood there would be some increases and some valleys, and that would fluctuate mildly over the years as we paid off that bond series. So I thought before I invested a lot of time into this, I would get some consensus from the board on, hey, we want to move ahead with saving some money on interest. Even though we, at the time we get there, may not be able to.
Well, if you don't bird dog it and find out.
Right. And then the question is the repayment schedule. The bonds that would be called, what is that schedule? And how do we work? you know,
Yes, sir.
is that worked out in a similar
Favorable.
fashion, that we don't
Right.
create huge peaks and
Right.
valleys from a budget cycle.
Right. And that's one of the things that's gonna come up, is you're gonna have an increasing debt load every year for the next 5 years, roundabout.
At the same
2017 or
token, though, if you
2018,
can save, you know, $180, even $150,000, that's $30,000 a year over 5 years. That's a significant, you know, when you look at, you know, there's, a lot of these payments are $30,000 to
Right.
$50,000.
And looking at this, though, it may mean you have some years where you have some double-digit rate increases in order to pay for these things, and those things can be rather unpalatable for the public and for the board as well. However, if you're saving $30,000 a year in interest, right, you're maybe better off to go ahead and bite the bullet and pay it.
Is this something that could be discussed at finance?
It is, it could, but I was looking for board consensus on it.
Well, I mean, to me, to spend some time to bird dog, like Dave said, seems like a no-brainer to me. I mean, if.
Well, yeah, obviously, there has to be research done.
Yeah, yeah. I would think if that's what you're looking for, is it only makes sense to investigate that.
So I don't think you need a motion, I think the consensus
No.
is, yeah, do it.
Okay.
And you can always come back to your finances.
And say this
Yeah.
is what would
This
be
is what would be
done,
done.
how it would get paid,
Okay.
what the savings would be.
Okay, good enough.
Proceed.
I would like to take a 10-minute recess, back at 5 after, and we'll proceed. What is everybody here for a particular thing? Because I'll be happy to move the agenda where we need to go.
I just wanted to hear what the deal is on the park things.
Okay, anybody else? Same thing?
I just, I think, one of the things here, it says residents for park committee. What's a resident?
Well, the way that Parks defined it was a taxpayer or a legal, property owner, taxpayer, or a legal resident. Now, you know, if you live in an apartment in Sister Bay, you're not necessarily a property taxpayer, but you're a resident. However, if you own the building, you're also a taxpayer, and so everybody, if you're a resident or taxpayer, you would be covered.
I guess the only other thing I heard that I was interested in, I can talk to him right here, but if the yacht club is interested in thinking about liability for sand going over there, filling theirs up, it's been doing that forever.
Right.
You know, we should not be liable for the
Well,
yacht club filling full of sand.
Right, but part of what they did through all this study with the beach project was to build what they're calling a groin to prevent that. The DNR wanted us to prevent that if
So the yacht
possible.
club's gonna pay for that?
No, the village has, no, the yacht club would be responsible for any dredging they would have to do
Well,
after
it
that.
wasn't before.
But the DNR, the
Helms
DN,
never paid for that.
pardon?
Helms didn't pay for their dredging before.
No, I agree. The village wouldn't be responsible for it either. But the DNR required us, as part of the permitting process, to put this groin out to try and prevent that sand from migrating over to the yacht club.
It probably would make sense maybe to get a couple of measurements done at the time at which the groin is put in, to say, okay, here's, opening, and here's 50 feet in, here's depths as of this date by an engineer, that 5 years from now, they come back and say, oh, well, it's different.
Oh, when the water
No, it
goes
isn't.
down 5 years from now,
Right,
we're gonna have
right,
to dredge.
right.
Yeah.
Right, so if we have a starting point, we can say it isn't because of us, or maybe it is,
Okay, who else?
Part of that yacht club problem is because they never put that other tube in the south end there. On the
Okay,
far end, there was supposed
we're
to
getting
be
way off the
Yeah,
end.
no idea.
What else is somebody here for? Paige?
Just one other comment.
Sure.
And I think the village is in a little precarious position. You're selling some properties now, right?
Mhm.
You had those, they were on the appraisals for whatever, and you're selling for whatever, probably not what they were appraised for. We just had some properties sell on the beach that was sold for a lot less than it's appraised for. And I don't know how much of the property you have in the village is assessed along the beach, but the reality is, those property values are coming down. And as a result, taxes for everybody else can go up.
Mr. Adine, by federal statute, the sale of the property that I think what you're considering is the beach property had to go by federal Yellow Book standards, and the dollar transacted amount had to be that amount. So in terms of, is it going for more or less than the assessed amount,
The answer is it's going for exactly the assessed amount.
I'm talking about the bundle property.
Yeah.
The what property?
Bundle property that's sold, that's
We're-
going to be substantially below what it was appraised at, or what it was
We're unaware.
assessed.
What,
for, I think.
what bundle property?
We're unaware.
That's the,
Pat- Pat
where
Bun-
they keep the shadow,
The what?
the house where they keep the.
Yeah, I know what
cannons.
house you're talking about. I was unaware that it transacted, but those types of events occur regularly.
I know, but you're hanging a lot of the village assessment on the beach properties here. I think you might lose a lot of that assessment, is all I'm saying. Just be aware.
Sure.
Okay, back in 10, so now 10 after. All right, call it back to order.
Okay.
So what have we done so far?
1, 3, 4, 5, 7, and 9.
Did we do 2?
No,
2.
we're gonna go there.
Okay, didn't think so.
Let's do that. Let's go consider motion to amend village board and committee commission and bylaws.
Okay.
It should be page 19 to 35.
Yep.
So pretty much what we're asking to do is form, as we mentioned at the last board meeting, amend the bylaws to enable an ad hoc, what we're currently calling a marketing committee.
22.
And let me get down.
This isn't a committee that's going to be the liaison between SBAA and the village?
No.
Something completely different, okay.
No. The idea behind this was to form an ad hoc committee. We've added several new assets. We've added the park pavilion. We're going to redo the beach. And thinking was, how do we market that? What are we going to choose to do with it going forward, okay? As well as other village assets and facilities.
Okay.
Now,
Sports complex,
we,
the hill.
right, we use SBAA as the business community marketing, okay? That's one piece of it, but the village is bigger than the SBA. So we've never really looked at what should we do, quote, marketing. When I say marketing, whether it be figuring out a way of working with SBA to do something with the pavilion to kick it off, you know, it's some big thing. Same thing with the beach, a big opening for the beach project. When that's complete, you know, what are we really gonna, what are we really gonna do? And I don't have any other ideas beyond that, other than what are we really gonna do with it, and what do we think we should do, okay? And it shouldn't be SBAA, don't take this the wrong way, it shouldn't be SBA telling us what we're gonna do with it. We should determine what we do with our facilities and the direction we want it to go, and then turn it over to people that are gonna use it and how they choose to use it. Other groups other than SBA can come to us and ask us to use our facilities, and they do all the time in different ways. And so we have these new assets, how do we want to see them used? Is pretty much the basics of it. So what we had proposed was to form this, quote, marketing committee. In the budget, as you go through the packet, we have it funded at $50,000 for next year. Doesn't need to mean it needs to be spent, but there's $50,000 in the budget for, quote, the marketing. And I was suggesting we put 2 trustees on it, one person from SBA and one person from the community at large. I have asked Shane to chair it. I've asked Kathy to be the other trustee on that committee. I've asked Paige, subject to approval of SBA, to be the SBA person for it. And I currently have an offer out to somebody in the community, but I haven't heard back, so I don't want to mention who, what, where, when, why.
Drew did also just mention he would be interested, he is a village resident, and he does work on that.
Okay. So I'm asking you to, number 1, create the committee, and number 2, I'm kind of down on appointments also, which is later on. Use those people as the appointments for it. And since we're on appointments and we're kind of doing 2 items at one time, we also needed to appoint officially the liaison to the SBA board, which had been Shane in the past, and we're going to appoint Nora, and Nora agreed to do it, to be the liaison to the SBA board for the board of trustees. Okay. So let's go first with, I'll make a motion that we create the marketing committee.
Amend the bylaws.
Amend the bylaws to make.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Then item number 2 would be appointments.
That would have been item 11, but.
Yes. I meant number 2 in my process here.
Got it.
Okay.
Now we're doing 11.
Now we're doing 11, which would be committee appointments. First appointment would be, quote, the marketing committee. It would be Shane Solomon as chair, Kathy Equist as second trustee, Paige as the SBA member, and a to-be-named community member. And I'm also proposing the appointment of Nora for the SBA liaison.
Okay.
That's my motion for appointments. If there's a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you.
Dave, I would appreciate guidance on when there are citizen members on committees. Some of it is in this list of bylaws and rules.
Whether they should be
and
paid or
some
not?
About who should be paid, because
Okay.
in some cases, it's not clear, okay?
I thought we cleared it up this year. As far as I'm concerned, anybody on a committee should be paid if they submit for it.
Okay,
Whether
well,
citizen or not.
there are some committees where it says they should not be paid.
Just make a motion, just amend your motion to amend the bylaws to that effect, that's what's on the agenda.
Yeah, you're right, you're changing bylaws.
Right.
That-
Okay, I make a motion, we amend the bylaws to include payment to anybody on committee or commission.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Well, while we're, I make a motion that Scott gets paid $1,000 a meeting.
I'll second.
You're gonna second
That
it. Sorry, Scott.
That's okay.
So basically, any citizen members who serve on a village committee shall be paid.
Any members of a committee.
Right.
Or commission, or board.
Talk about a budgeting problem. He's gonna be asking for
Where's
more
that coming
appointments.
from?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, how about if we go to, we're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yep, 6.
6. Item number 6. Consider motion to act on a recommendation of the Parks Committee to adopt a Parks Pass policy for Sister Bay residents and impose user fees for non-residents at the sports complex / PKH Ice Rink.
Do we have a page number for the Zoom on that?
Yes.
59.
59. Since I'm on Parks, I'll try and fill you in. Yes, Kathy?
I can talk about something I know about. I think this is a great idea. I think it's just a great, I love the ice rink, and it gets lots of people outside in the winter, and I don't see why anybody wouldn't want to support it. The pass is a good rate. I'm not sure how you're going to enforce that. I don't know if people are just going to pass that around to their friends. And, you know, you are including extended family, grandparents, children, but I'm not sure how many people are going to go out and purchase this or how that's going to work. But my concern, not my concern, but my comment is about the dog park. And I'm wondering if you could do that as an add-on. Because Steve Jacobson told me that that's the most used park in the village. And I don't know if he just did that by observation, being in the vicinity that he is, or if it was something that's a statistic. But
I think we spend about $800-ish on poop bags a year.
a year. Well,
Which they have contributed for.
Yes.
yeah. And I love the dog park, and I'd like to see it grow. I'd like to see lots of things happen in there. But I don't think that, well, one, I don't think anybody should be using the dog park if they don't have proof of their village license or their local government municipal license. In other words, dog tags. And the people that are going to use the dog park should receive the free pass if they have dog license issued by the village. I think it almost should be a separate thing, because, and You could also do a donation box in the dog park to facilitate that too, but.
Can we back up for a moment? We'll get to the dog park, I promise.
Okay.
The Parks Pass issue at TKH, we subsidize TKH $5,000 a year in the budget. We use, quote, an outside entity to run the broom ball and the hockey for us.
If I could jump in on that one for just a second.
Sure.
It's just got laid on my desk yesterday.
Okay.
We will not be using an outside entity for broom ball or for board advertising this coming year.
So things change rapidly in the village of Sister Bay. We'll be running the broom ball and hockey leagues ourselves again this year.
Is there background on that?
The Pacers have, since we're talking about this in the context of
Yep.
Parks Pass, the Pacers have gotten some other commitments. They've expressed an interest that they don't want to see things fall apart. At the same time, they don't want to make the time commitment to run broom ball or to engage in the advertising of board sales. Last year, our agreement with them specified they paid us $3,000. Got about $4,200 in total ad sales out there. So we will be, from the looks of it, I have a meeting with staff tomorrow on the ice rink for this, in-sourcing ads and running of the broom ball league. So it's fortuitous that we've budgeted for that additional FTE to do those things.
Okay.
Did I hear right with the idea of they were gonna give us 3,000, they sold 42, so it was about a
So we'll pick up an
$1,200.
extra $1,200. There are some replacement
Not
costs.
that I was just curious about
Plus,
that.
broom ball itself.
But that's a lot to administer the whole.
Sure.
Sell and administer.
But they also have to create the ads. They have
Yes.
to, I mean,
Right.
they're not getting $1,200.
But that was gonna be my point, is that's not a lot of money to do what I'm sure needed to be done.
And now, was that their issue?
No.
Financial, it wasn't the
No,
financial.
their issue is, per our rink manager, right, he went out today and he saw where there are posters that got placed apparently today, that the Pacers will be organizing a pond hockey league.
Kangaroo Lake.
At Kangaroo Lake with 16 leagues.
Right.
I think there's 10 teams to a league, something like that. I mean, it's.
We had a gentleman last year who approached us about doing something with our ice.
Yep.
And that individual was big in pond hockey throughout northwestern Wisconsin. And they're now doing it, they tried it last year on Kangaroo Lake, and it worked out very successfully. It's something that they can charge for and pull together.
Doing a quick tally on what that's worth to the Pacers, about $35,000.
Right.
Our numbers may be off on that, but it makes sense for them to make that move.
So,
If it's cold enough.
so that's, the direction they're going.
Okay.
Which was an assumption that we'd kind of thought of last year when they first did that. It was their first year, it was very successful that they did that. So that's when it's spending time, fine.
Okay.
So that leaves us back in the business of broom ball and our own hockey leagues. So we were adding within the budget, as finance knows, additional monies for FTEs at the ice rink this year, as well as the $5,000 support that we've given. So we got thinking, we're gonna put this sledding hill out there, which is costing us money, and we have a great ice rink, and we have broom ball, and we have hockey, so why not go ahead and do something more? And my anecdotal evidence is down at the store all the time. I get asked all the time over winter, people will come in with their family on a weekend, where's that ice rink? Okay, and they're from Chicago, Milwaukee, whatever, they're used to paying park passes, they're used to paying fees to use everything. And so we can't keep paying for everything and let everybody use it without somehow recouping some dollars for it. So Parks agreed that what we should do is come up with, quote, a Parks Pass. And TKH is a good place to use it because it's a confined area. It's not like you're trying to track somebody down on the beach, hey, do you have a pass? But out there, we have to get skates, they have to do whatever, it'd be a little bit easier to do it. So we didn't want to charge anything to a resident or a taxpayer. So if you own property, you're paying tax in the village of Sister Bay, no charge. If you're a resident, you got a Sister Bay address, you're in an apartment or condo, whatever it is, if you're a resident, you get a free Parks Pass. Okay? We try to make it as lenient as possible. But if you don't live or are not a taxpayer in the village of Sister Bay, then we would charge you a fee. either a daily fee or an annual pass in order to use the TKH facilities in the sledding. Okay, and that was the idea behind it. So you have little numbers and stuff in there. We thought we would try that first before we looked at doing it elsewhere, because it was more of a compact area that we could control somewhat. Does it mean somebody's still gonna come in a carload and get away without paying the $2 or whatever? Yeah, that'll happen. But I think most people that are coming in and use it for family and kids and stuff would be used to doing that in other locations. They will think nothing of, we hope they will think nothing of paying a fee to use the facilities. And that was the idea behind it.
Is this gonna be reminiscent of like a live tag?
Yes.
Basically, wear it on your body and
The
you're
plan,
good to go.
Shane, what we'll do is we'll issue, and you see a picture of it in here, a credit card type of instrument to Sister Bay taxpayers and residents. We have record of, I'm sure there will be some residents that we don't have record of, that are gonna come in and say, hey, what about me? As long as they provide proof of a utility bill, we'll issue them one of those passes. They can then bring that in and show that to get access to one of those ski lift tags, basically a sticker to wear on themselves while they're out there. It's easy enough for us to track that. We can change colors out throughout days of the week, rotate it around any number of ways, date them as well. We put in a fee structure that would provide for individual day, carload day, league pass, at a discounted rate, and then just a carload season pass. This year with TKH, we've tried to significantly under budget revenues and overstate expenses, increase or support. You'll see this when the budget comes up, went from 5,000 to 16,000. Some of the stuff there is also to create some event activity around TKH, at least two, to stimulate traffic flow up there and try to really
Kind of a winter festival.
yeah, get a push activity in Sister Bay in the wintertime.
How about if they're renting a place in Sister Bay?
Yeah.
Would they have the pass for the people that, oh, no, okay.
Are we talking like seasonal rentals, like week-long rentals, or are we talking like, is it basically
Somebody's
whoever
got
the
a
taxpayer
utility
wants to
bill,
give it
Shane.
to?
We did not count somebody who stayed in a hotel for a week
No.
as a resident. They would have to pay for the
I-
pass. But if you're renting and you live here and you work here,
Yeah.
yes.
Shane, if you have a utility bill in your name, that's what
Well,
I'd be.
there's a lot of renters that don't have utility bills.
Right.
Okay.
A letter from a
And
landlord.
we'll have to make arrangements to, yeah. They
Well,
do live
driver's
here.
license.
Well,
You live in here? Well, if you're renting an apartment, hopefully your driver's license has your correct address.
yeah.
If
not
not, take a ride to
necessarily.
the DMV and put the right address on there.
Well,
Or pay the $10.
This is gonna be a learning year for us. We're gonna do
We'll
our
have to make,
best
we'll have to make arrangements and whatever we gotta do.
Yeah.
But the idea was to try it at the
Yeah.
sports complex and see it together.
The
Dog park,
league
I'm
season
sorry.
pass, is that like per person, or what does that mean?
That'd be per person, per participant. Here's basically what happens in the Broom Ball League, and this is part of what drove this. The Pacers received 100% of the revenue for organizing and putting on the Broom Ball League. And
I'm sorry, who are the Pacers?
Peninsula Pacers, they do bike rides and runs. It's,
Oh,
It's a
okay.
company that
it's
runs.
sort of the athletic arm of the Peninsula Pulse, if you know, think of it
Is that
that way.
Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, I guess I never heard that name
Yeah,
before,
yeah.
okay.
Peninsula Pacers.
Okay,
is
sorry,
the
I'm
business
sorry.
name. Yep.
And Dave Elliott.
Yeah, yeah. So, sorry, you just threw me off
I'm
track there.
sorry.
Say that one more time. Nora?
Like the league pass was per person, per participant
Yes,
under
sorry.
the league.
What happens with the broom ball situation, that's where I was going with it. I made a number of observations this past year at the ice rink. They come in, they use the ice, they're the most intensive users of ice. But then they don't purchase concessions, they bring beer and whatever in with them, and then they take off and head to our establishments in town, which is fine. It's just that there was sort of this incongruous amount of usage to pay back.
Right, okay. Now somebody's in there and
So if you're on a
then they're
league-
also an individual, then,
If you got a league pass, you got a league pass, you're in there,
Yeah, it's
whatever you
right.
want to be in there.
okay, because I know I've got a son and daughter-in-law that play, but
Right.
then they bring their daughter to ice skate, and they put 75 as a family, and then another 20 to play in the
No,
league, and,
no.
you know,
One pass, whatever
Yeah.
pass you have, we'll cover it.
we'll cover it whenever you come.
Right.
Okay.
Right. As
I
far
was
as
just
the-
thinking, if you live in Bailey's Harbor or over the edge a little bit, or Liberty Grove, it could get pretty expensive otherwise.
Yeah. Whatever pass you have.
But if you got
will
one,
work.
then one covers it.
Right.
Okay.
The dog park comment I was gonna make
Okay.
was, we had a brief discussion about maybe the dog park would be one way to look at adding it next, okay? But we also, one of the ideas behind the dog park originally going in was to keep the dogs out of the parks downtown. We had to have some place for them to go. And it wasn't just residents, it was visitors also. And so we thought, fine, we'll look at it some other time, let's see how this works. But the dog park people do donate for bags and a couple other things. They have donated dollars for us to do things for them. So they do something, so they would, I think they would not necessarily shy away from paying something, quite a fee for it. But I don't know that you can just turn around and charge everybody. You tell them they can't use the parks, you're sending them out to the dog park instead. I'm not sure how we would
It
do
may
that.
be, so.
Well, you're providing them a park. I mean, I don't know. There, I mean, the county,
So we just,
Yeah.
so we'll continue to
Yeah.
have that discussion.
Yeah.
Let's see how it goes with the TKH this
But
year.
I do think that they should have proof of their current licenses. That's pretty standard in dog parks. I
Yeah,
mean,
one of the issues for us, Kathy, is having an ability to enforce and to police. Right now, and I wish Christie was here, because she could probably tell us off the top of her head, we probably have, can you think of how many dollars it is in license fees we receive?
Oh,
Wasn't it like 13?
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I think-
Yeah, I was,
I
well,
think-
I circled
Six
that
of
on
it's
this.
I think we
Right.
only have 2.5 dogs in the village.
Yeah, that's pretty
So-
much what it is.
Well, we
So-
only
Like it's
get a
bigger
portion
than
of
we get.
that, though.
No, yeah, we only get like a quarter
Quarter,
of each
right.
fee. so-
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, I was gonna
So
say
4.5
that. can-
dogs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we got-
exactly.
they're all at my house.
that's crazy.
I-
That's,
I have a question, I mean, I have a comment more. I know this is you're using as kind of a pilot program, correct? That's the only thing I have an issue with. I don't want Sister Bay to become the land of fees. You want to go down to the beach, you're going to pay a fee. You want to go here, you want to pay a fee. I understand the sledding hill, I understand TKH. Those are very high-impact areas, and they need larger amounts of monies to keep going. If you guys are thinking about trying to do this in all of the parks, adamantly against it, because
We
you
weren't
don't,
thinking about trying to do it in all the parks.
well, that was a statement that was made.
No, we were doing a pilot program to see if this would actually work out there at TKH. I didn't say it was gonna be downtown at the beach.
But you said you're thinking about going to the dog park, and then we'll start
No,
looking at
Kathy
other
brought up the dog
things.
park.
well,
We had
it
talked
says
about
on this thing, that it says the beach on here.
I didn't put the board report together.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
that's where I'm
I can only
confused
speak
too.
to what we spoke at Parks.
Okay.
Okay. And
Okay.
Parks was, it was due TKH. It had to do with the funding that we have to put in, try and recapture some of that funding
Some
in
of the
costs.
future years. So
Absolutely.
use this as a pilot to see if it works.
Well, I think that's great. When I saw the other complexes in here, I just said, it threw my red flag up going,
If I could
really?
call your
You know,
Not my
attention,
board report.
Well,
if I
and
could call your attention to the back page, okay? Page 62 in your Zoom, we specified in there where a Parks Pass would get you into, right? And that was just in an effort to say, hey, here's all these really cool places that your tax money has helped pay for. So,
Okay.
taxpaying family, grandparents, parents, and children are free to use the following facilities: TKH Ice Rink, Sister Bay Beach, dog park, softball field, soccer field, tennis courts. Right, we really were just looking for, here's sort of an example of facilities.
So I think maybe we need to take that language
Yeah.
out and make it just the TKH portion of the
Okay.
sports complex.
Because we didn't need
Because
a pass for
otherwise
something
you're
that's
alluding
free.
to, you need passes for this, right?
Okay.
Yes.
Ms. Page?
After recent experience at Fall Fest with putting donation buckets out, thank you, Mr. Jackson, for that. What about putting like a donation box at the dog park?
Every dog park I've ever been
Yeah.
has one.
And
We did not receive any donations this year
For, what are we talking
from anywhere, from the dog park.
thought that woman from Crow's Nest, their group over there got $250 or something.
No, not this year.
about? The year before?
Hmm?
The year before, maybe?
Yes, it was. It was in 13. And we spend over $2,000. It's not just the mud bags, it's also the porta potty.
And is there any signage as to whether dogs are expected to be immunized to use it? Even if you can't police it, shouldn't there be your dog should be licensed. And
We'll refer that to Parks, have that discussion. When we get down to item number
35.
Yeah.
14.
But
But those are good points. Okay, so, did we have a motion on this or not?
I don't know.
No, you don't have a motion yet.
I will make the motion to accept with the, do we need to mention the back of the card?
No, we'll take care of that.
I'll make that motion to approve, or to accept.
I think it may be a good idea to leave the idea of, for rental and the village number, that then people can get a hold of if they do wanna, but I agree that
Yeah.
we don't wanna convolute
Right.
that there's ever going to be a cost to use the
Right,
beach.
right, it should just be, right, should just be
Yeah.
TKH Sports Complex.
Okay.
I'll second it if nobody else has.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay. Item number 8. Preliminary presentation of 2015 budget, discussion thereof, consider a motion to hold a public hearing November 18th, 2014 for public comment adoption of 2015 budget. I will start this conversation. The intent is not to go through this budget tonight and go through page by page or line by line. Typically, what happens is the finance committee makes a recommendation to the board. The board turns around and agrees with the finance committee to go to a public hearing. But the budget isn't really presented and discussed prior to that. What we wanted to do was give everybody a month to go through the budget and look at it. If you have questions, call Zeke, call Juliana, call whoever to get those questions answered, okay? Then we have the public hearing. After the public hearing is when the board debates the budget and makes any suggestions or changes, okay? So this has been forwarded by finance to us at the board level. We're asking the board to authorize to go to public hearing. Okay, so that's really all we need to do tonight, okay? That makes sense?
Good.
Okay. So the packet is here, and if you have any questions, Juliana, great. She's available.
Comments by?
Give them whenever.
Give them whenever,
Okay,
right.
okay.
Right, and really, it's for asking questions and making your comments, but the board actually takes action and has their discussion, and the voting takes place, discussion takes place after the public hearing.
The notice that we publish is page 1. It's the page right after the cover. That's what goes in the paper.
And so we'll clarify, if you go to the very, very bottom line, what we're asking for, what the Finance Committee is recommending to the board is a 5.37% net tax increase or change for next year.
Which is usually the question you get from others.
Which is usually the question.
Right. But that will fluctuate some, because that's only a portion of property tax. So when you get your bill, that's the village's share.
That's the village's share.
Which is 40-some%. The other
And you get the county,
50-some%,
state.
correct. Or the county, state.
Schools, and
Right,
ETC.
right. But the village's share, that's their proposed increase.
So I'll make a motion that we approve the publication for a public hearing for the budget for 2015.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, item number 10, consider a motion to adopt resolution number 298-102-114, authorizing the sale of parcel number 181-210501A located at 2362 Mill Road to the Wisconsin Department of Transportation and Al and Terry Gopi.
Yep, so again, I got a little verbose in your board report, thinking about how awesome things could be in Sister Bay. I apologize for that. One of the things that came as a result of this is we end up with these little widget parcels, which I brought a picture of one today.
Okay, let's back up.
Yeah.
What we're talking about is, there's a piece of property.
Yes.
It's the old Helms
Helms
property
Cottage
across
lot.
the street from the waterfront that was kept as a piece of property for sale for development. And it was one of the parcels that was available for sale from the Economic Development Committee when that whole package was put together. The other parcel that was part of that was the schoolhouse property up on top of the hill. Okay? As a part of what's going on with the downtown reconstruction of Highway 42, the state DOT, Department of Transportation, needs to purchase some property within the village because they took property from us along Highway 42 on our park side. They need to replace that property as part of the reconstruction process. And it's called the 6F conversion because there was federal money used for the property that they took along the parks and marina along Highway 42. So they have to replace that property. We either have to replace it here in the village, or they have to replace it outside the village. We would prefer that they use property within the village. A number of properties are offered to them. It's gone through the process for many, many months. It's going on a year that this process has been going forward. So it's called a 6F conversion. The only property that was available that meets all the requirements is that piece of property on Mill Road across from where the Helms Hotel used to be. That was available for development. It was appraised at how much?
About $490,000.
About $490,000. They have to buy a piece of it that equals how much?
$383,000.
$383,000. So they would buy the portion of the property that equals the $383,000, which is still going to leave a small portion of the property available for development. And Al and Kathy Goki want to purchase it for development. So, two different issues. The DOT portion of the property would be acquired by the DOT. They would pay us for it, then they will turn around and give it back to us, okay? And we would put parking there. So we would get paid for it, we'll get the $383,000, okay? And then I think they may also assist with actually putting the parking in.
Depending on how the negotiation goes, yes, sir.
Right. So that's not a bad deal. They're going to buy it and give it back to us, and we're going to get the money for it and get more additional parking down there for the waterfront.
We're going to have to sign it as being for beach parking, so there'll be some restrictions on it for that purpose.
Right. But we're not going to...
Can't enforce it anyway.
You're not going to have somebody there enforcing you going to the beach?
Yes.
Okay, so that's one piece of it. And then the second piece of it is the other portion of the parcel would be for sale, and Al and Kathy Goki have made an offer.
They've not actually tendered the offer yet.
But they're
They've put together
negotiating.
a proposal, and they've been negotiating, yes. But one of the concerns we've had is where would we locate restroom facilities? And so one of the things that I put to these developers and trying to kill a bunch of birds with one stone is to say, look, we're going to have this piece of property left over after the DOT is done buying the portion that it can buy. And it would be really nice to have somebody develop this balance. And at the time I approached the Gokis about it, I said, I don't know how big this is going to be because DOT hadn't let me know yet. I'd said to them, this may be a 25-foot by 25-foot postage stamp that you put a kiosk up on for kayak rental or something. I don't know what that'll be. Turns out it's a little less than a quarter of an acre after it's all said and done. They have tentatively put together a plan with 3 buildings on it. I haven't seen this yet. I've just discussed it with them. Part of that would be a condoization with changing facilities and restrooms incorporated that would be dedicated back over to us. So that's sort of what's slated or planned to go there, and why I've asked you guys to consider a motion to authorize the sale contingent upon Finance Committee approval over a final deal.
So are you looking for 2 separate motions?
No, I did this all in one resolution, so it would all go as one thing. If one piece of it fails, that's fine. One piece of it fails, the resolution still carries for
Okay,
DOT
so wouldn't
purposes.
you want in the motion or in the resolution that if one or the other parcels falls off, it's still okay to close on the other?
That'd be fine, yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay, otherwise you're going to have to close on both in order to make it.
No, sir.
Send us-
The way I put it is, you're authorizing approximately .72 acres to go to DOT,
Right.
and then approximately .23 acres.
So is DOT 100% written in stone, check in hand? Because what if we go through with this, we pass a resolution, the Gokis have this .23 portion of this Helms property, and the DOT
Right,
says,
that's why I'm
sorry.
thinking- That's why I'm thinking it should be 2 separate motions. do the DOT first. DOT has to close first before the Gokis could.
And make sure that it's all signed, sealed, and delivered, that it's
Yeah,
the
change
right
the rules.
Here's,
parcel size
yep,
and the
and
whatever.
I was getting ready to tell you, look, I need you to strike through 2 places. I wrote a numbered inverse in there on the resolution. I'll correct that. DOT needs to move fast on this.
Right. So do a separate.
Right.
And do the
Yeah,
contingent on
the
closing
DOT
the
thing, I
DOT.
think, is a no-brainer. The
Yeah.
Goki thing, to me,
It needs to be
it's
fleshed out
it's a
more.
great idea, but yes, I'd like to get it fleshed out more. And, right, we just have to know a lot more. And quite honestly, do we need to go do an RFP? Do we need to hang a sign up? I don't know if there's any legalities of, if all
Well,
of a sudden
it-
you just tell a developer, hey, wait,
It has been for sale.
that parcel?
Yes,
Yeah.
you've had it identified in your redevelopment plan since your redevelopment plan's been there.
Been for sale for years.
Really?
The whole,
The whole thing.
the whole thing is.
Yep.
Yeah, and no, you're not under a requirement to post it.
But I'm,
And just for clarification, by authorizing a sale to Allen Terragoki does not mean you're going to sell it to Allen Terragoki. This is one of the legal loopholes that you, or legal things that you have to jump through to move forward with the sale. What I had envisioned with this is for them to come up with a proposal. We'd already have this piece of it out of the way. They could then take it to finance. We'd flesh out the final details at finance, having already accomplished what it is that we're going to accomplish here. DOT, by the way, will be the ones doing the CSM for this, because it takes so long to get a surveyor up here. I've already worked that out with DOT. It'll be, DOT wants this, the balance is left over for development.
CSM a certified survey map.
Yes,
And you're
which would then have to go to plan
protected too,
commission.
Because Zeke's got in there the best negotiated settlement and that negotiated deal. So if he can't give a negotiated deal,
68, 69.
that portion of that resolution just goes away.
So we're still gonna do a separate motion.
Well, then you're gonna have to do a new resolution.
Then we do a new resolution.
That's fine.
Okay, so that's what you're gonna do then.
Or
No.
or we structure the motion such that we say DOT has to close first before any sale.
amend your
Let's just
resolution.
bring this back to another board meeting, then it's 2 different resolutions.
Because it's 2 different ones, you can't,
Yeah,
if you don't have it for consideration.
just do that, Dave.
Well, can we modify this to strike the second part and just,
Bring that back.
I'll go back and rewrite it. Let's just bring it back at one more meeting. We've got a month. I was trying to get it ahead.
Are you,
DOT.
are we okay with DOT?
Yeah, we'll be okay with DOT.
Okay. Okay, bring it back.
Just table it and I'll bring it back.
Okay. Tabled. Before we table it, okay, but the general consensus is
2 separate resolutions.
2 separate resolutions.
Want the DOT.
Do the DOT, make sure the DOT is done first before we proceed with anything with
Yeah.
any other buyer.
Yes,
And that any other buyer comes forward with something through finance.
yes.
And then after that, if finance is amenable and it comes up to the board and we approve it, it still ends up going back to the plan commission for all the plan commission requirements that would have to occur with any building. Are you shaking your head yes?
I'm shaking my head yes.
Okay, thank you. What?
I'm gonna muddy the waters some more if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Please, can we not, or can we please try to get other prospects in there too? I mean, I, don't get me wrong, I like it that there's something firm and steadfast, and that doesn't mean we can't do anything there, but I think we need to do our best, because now it's a .23, a much more affordable piece of land right across the street from a beach that's gonna have parking lot all the way around it. It's a much different property than what it was advertised as the first. So I just look at it as, there
I
might
kind of
be
agree
more
that-
people
But I think
in
the
the community.
village should flesh out what they want out of that, to me. I mean, and maybe this is the best plan, you know, I like the idea of changing and this and that, but what does the village, I mean, again, that's a,
Guys, you're gonna have a postage stamp size of property. It's gonna take a unique developer to go in and do it. Right now, these are the only kids playing in our sandbox. The reason that the Braun property and the Casterson property hadn't developed is because there aren't any other developers playing in a sandbox.
Nobody else knows about this postage stamp,
It's
Zeke,
been-
and this is
It's been
well.
advertised for well over a year.
No, not this postage stamp.
No.
Not the point.
With
Right.
the infrastructure that it's gonna have around it, and plus the beach across the street, it's not the same property. I will,
Yeah, it's
I'll
free,
battle
it's
that.
free parking and probably a quarter of the price.
yeah. I think we're doing ourselves a disservice. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like the ideas of what's going on there. I mean, I've told
And
you
and
that.
maybe
And
they'll
they can
wind up
fix
being
it,
the
right.
people, right? But I agree that it would make sense. If nothing else, publicize it, it's, get it out there, it's more, hey, we got this
Okay.
beach project going on.
How long do you guys want to publicize it before we go do something with it?
Well, the Gokis can still come forward with whatever proposal they have.
Sure.
We can still, yeah.
We can still
the-
accept it and still move on with it, but
Right,
it doesn't
but just make
preclude
other
you.
people aware.
Maybe this will light a fire under them.
And maybe it won't, but.
Right. I mean, and to me, the idea of, you know, the village is interested in, you know, retail, changing facility, maybe visitors, I mean, whatever the village is interested in there is to, you know, create a vision to,
That's what they've done effectively. It's retail, it's multifaceted, it has residential.
Okay, and that's fine. Bring it to finance,
Yeah.
bring it to the other committees so we know what it is and what we're talking about. And,
Yes, sir.
okay? Okay.
Yep.
Down to 12. Report of county
Yes, sir.
activities from County Supervisor Dave Lehman. The county supervisor reports that, just like we did tonight, the finance committee has forwarded to the county board the budget for its budget hearing on November 12th and 13th for their review and their public hearing, see what happens after that. So the budget is done at the county level, and that's a big process that's taken place up to this point in time. And the other issue that the administrative committee continues to work through the pay and compensation plan, making adjustments and changes. With any compensation plan, as we well know from people who are on the comp committee, there's a lot of holes and a lot of cracks to fill when you're changing from one plan to another one. Things pop up that you weren't aware of or weren't able to think about. And that's what's happening with the county compensation plan. You put a compensation plan in place, they have to take care of a couple of different groups of people. As a result of changes that were made, you find out, oops, there's this group of 30 people over here that this is going to be affected this way, and that wasn't intended. So you go back and figure out, should it be changed, can you change it, and what do you have to do to change it? And that's what's taking place now with that compensation plan. That'll be an ongoing thing probably at the county level for 3 or 4 years. But we're working through it. That's my county supervisor report, unless you have a question. Paige?
Has the county started advertising for the open vacant positions?
No. I don't want to really speak to that because it hasn't been covered in committee. I can tell you that the admin committee today, the explanation was that we probably should not be in any great hurry. What we're going to do is go to the board, and the board has to determine, there's 3 different levels of county government, and the board determines each time there's a county administrator change what that can be. You can have an administrative coordinator, you can have an administrator, or you can have an elected county executive. And so the board will discuss and make a decision what type of government entity they want in place. Then after that's in place, they also talked about wanting to get an evaluation process in place for the administrator position before it was filled again. They would also appoint an interim administrator who will be Grant Thomas. He was the interim administrator a couple of years ago when the prior administrator left. And the thinking is it could take 6, 8, 9 months, whatever, to go through the whole process and put the right person in place again. But we're not in a rush to turn around and advertise it and start getting resumes in, because then you have to do something right away. And we'd rather the board take their time to put in place what type of administration oversight they want, what type of evaluation they want for that individual or individuals, and then decide how they want to fill the position after that all takes place. Rather than just an administrative committee decide, here's what we're going to do.
I'd rather have input from all 21 board members to make that decision. Does that answer it? Anybody else? Item number 13, review of financial statements, consider a motion to approve the monthly bills.
I'll make that motion.
And what is the motion going to pay for?
$569,174.11.
Okay, can you please pass that?
Second. Has there been any change to these numbers, Juliana?
No.
Can you pass that?
Thank you.
I guess Juliana doesn't get one.
You need one?
You can-
At the SBAA?
Yeah. Yeah, do you have another one, Janelle?
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, is there two in that packet or just one?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that one seemed thicker.
Okay, we have this one.
Because you have to authorize quarterly payment.
Okay. That's part of the,
Finance.
okay, got it. Okay. So, we have a motion, we have a second?
Yes, there was a second.
Yes. Okay. Is there any discussion on any of the bills as presented?
I just had one, and I'm looking for it. I read it this morning.
Village or utility?
This is Village.
Let's start on page 70. Susan.
And that would be the very first page, the very first item. We have a semi-annual service and parts, and I'm trying to find the other one that I saw. We also had a second elevator inspection. Two separate things, just,
One is service and one is inspection.
Just, okay.
And they're both
They
done
don't
on a
do both
regular
of-
basis.
okay.
If you're not,
Probably-
if you're not in consulting, the other gig to be in is elevator repair and maintenance.
I guess.
And if you can.
It's minor, I know that.
If you remember,
Maybe we could sell passes
situations
to
where
use the
people got
elevator.
stuck in the elevator, you realize that we have to do this.
Well, if you've ever been about elevator maintenance, it is just one of those.
Yeah. Well, for what, you know.
That's all.
We only have one.
That's all I have.
You know, when you're in high rises and they actually, you know.
Yes.
On utilities,
Which page on the Zoom?
this will be page 81 on the Zoom, page 3 of utilities. Robert Lang has a lot of feet?
Robert Lane,
Yeah.
okay.
There's a lot of shoes.
Weighs a lot of shoes.
What's going on?
Well, you notice 3 of them are returns.
Yes, I'm just curious.
Okay. Our personnel policy covers $100 per year in work shoes.
Okay.
Martha mistakenly paid the full amount, which was $138, and she voided that check and reissued a check for $100. That's the last 3 numbers, and those three numbers are allocated among the 3 utility departments: water, wastewater, and sewer.
Okay.
Okay. The right percentage of both feet is in the department. One foot in one and one in the
I
other.
want the left foot getting more money than the right foot. Next,
That's all I have.
anybody else? Any other discussion on the monthly bill? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We need a,
Okay, so now who made those motions? Was
I
it
did, I made-
Shane? Okay.
Shane second.
Okay.
so we need a separate motion for the SBA for the 12,
Release the
for the next.
support.
Yes,
quarterly
because
support
that
of
was
12,
not,
right?
that's not.
We did the annual authorization, okay. So I'll make a motion to approve the first, for the quarterly installment of $12,500 for SBA for the, is this the 4th quarter?
No,
Third.
pay for the third.
Third quarter.
I'll second that motion.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Discussion regarding matters to be placed on a future agenda referred to committee, official, or employee. We have the tabled items. We have the dog park issue.
Yep.
We have,
Depths at the yacht club and current water levels.
anything else?
Got a question on there was damage to that Quiet Craft launch?
There was what?
Yeah, that won't be restored because that's all coming
That'll
out
be
as
part
part
of
of
the
the
beach.
beach.
It's all being torn
That's
down.
part of the beach, okay.
Oh.
Just was coming
How
up.
about the other one that fell
Just
in?
wondering, and where's that gonna,
Oh, the little
Big
finger
project
pier.
too, or- yeah.
Is that over by the marina?
Yeah.
They put some big rocks on
Yeah.
it and it still went in, so now the rocks are somewhat precarious.
Yes,
on
that
the-
little finger pier next to the boathouse.
No, not part of the beach.
Right, that was kept separate. And as I recall, the DNR wouldn't let us repair it at the time.
No, I don't believe they would. I'm
So will they let us
side.
tear it out since it's now falling apart and quote as a hazard?
Go get a permit for it, I'm sure. That was one of the reasons that we didn't do it. We had Mike Carr look at it and. we
It'd just take
walked
one scoop.
Yeah, well, it's now in worse repair, if you go look at it.
What if they accidentally start on the wrong part and go, oh, shoot, that's not the one we need to do, and then move over to the other one?
Wrong end.
Yeah, well, they got the scooper there anyway.
Well, anyway,
It's good thinking, Shelley. I like it.
Yeah, 2 years ago, when he was dredging, we were gonna ask him to just go over there and take a scoop. We couldn't get the barge in close enough. Now the water's
too
up.
shallow,
The water's up. So maybe that's something to investigate
Marina,
too.
okay.
Anything else? Okay, committee reports. Administrative met, and as a result, you made the bylaw and committee appointments.
good job, administration.
So that admin's on top of it every now and then.
It's a pretty impressive committee.
$25. Gotta have that beer fund. Bay Shore oversight.
Met and decided to do a lot of really fancy things with our light posts. It's kind of the big thing to come out of that one. Also, work started on overhead line burials somewhere between February 1 and March 1.
Coastal byways.
Minutes in your packet are last month's, which I covered, basically website updating. We met again, attempted to meet on Thursday the 9th, and there wasn't a quorum, so we went back home.
It happens. DCECD.
Minutes in your packet are from the September meeting which I covered. That was the Workplace Wellness Initiative through Allison Vroman at the Y. And I also brought up about the Bassmaster Tournament last month. We did meet on Monday, the 13th. I had a presentation, Glenn Timmerman, who is doing a reuse plan of Horseshoe Bay. Want to turn it into a learning center.
The farm there.
Yeah, the big farm. So, big project, it appears.
Yeah,
Economic development.
has not had.
Finance. Has met, you have your budget package as a result. Want to say anything else, Shane?
Fire. Fire minutes are in the packet. I don't really think there was anything of significance. It's,
Budget got incorporated in one.
right.
Fire district exploratory.
They had a meeting, and there's now gonna be another meeting because they want to, or this came out of the fire board.
This was at the fire board.
Okay, second fire board.
We're
Well,
gonna
yeah,
start
there's
it.
Yeah, they're gonna start doing presentations, but they're taking fire chiefs out of it and want to engage.
We're gonna make a board
Right.
without the fire chiefs.
Wait, they want to make a board without the fire chiefs?
Yeah. Board of directors.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that they're not putting any particular person
Okay.
under fire.
Okay, makes sense.
But,
Politically expedient, yes.
Actually, they said it was like a three-legged stool. They've been talking about political and financial. Now they have to straighten out the operations side because we all do it differently.
Okay. Historical Society.
The Historical Society did meet in October, and the farm markets and things are done for the year. They did okay, weather had some effect. They did close down 1 week earlier than normal. They also discussed the old schoolhouse a little bit, and don't think it's financially feasible to try to move and restore that building. At this time, they wouldn't have the funds, the time, or be able to do it with the sale impending on that.
Question, please. Nora, was there any discussion brought up about the Historical Society participating in the Fall Fest?
I don't think they had mentioned that, no.
I've gotten a call, I don't remember who it was that called me, asking about doing a booth at Fall Fest. And I made the suggestion, one of the biggest issues we have at Fall Fest is parking. One of the things that I've been trying to work on getting somebody besides SBAA to do for a number of years is, one of the past is a perfect example. There's a lot of open land out there. I know some of it's owned by the Historical Society and some of it's not. Some of it's owned by the village and some of it's not. But so all you really need is 2 or 3 volunteers to say, okay, here, give me $5 and you go park over there, $5, you know, and that's something that isn't as labor or financially intensive an output as doing a booth down at Fall Fest. And I didn't hear anything back from them. I also mentioned potentially using the now owned lot of Beacon Marine or Red Antlers and or the church, the Catholic Church, because a huge open lot, or even old, I think Dave and I talked about the old schoolhouse property too. But the Historical Society, that would be an easy one, I think, that we could do.
Okay. At the church, doesn't everybody park there now?
Yeah, no, I've never understood why the youth group doesn't block it off and charge $5 to park there.
I would think it'd be up to the church, it's their property. I'll mention that parking.
Well, the Humane Society raised $5,000 telling people where to park at it's a Fine Line Art Fair. And basically, we just shoot them into a back field. I mean, it's.
Oh, yeah, because we go up there and park in the backfield, yeah.
Yeah, but we raised $5,000 doing that for the weekend, so.
Well, the kids are looking for money for their DC trip. I can talk to the coordinator there on that one. Maybe something they could potentially get with the church or historical society if they wanted to share or allow them to use the whatever, and they could man it.
Library building.
The last meeting was September 16th.
Anything of note?
Anything, pardon me?
Anything of note that you want to share?
I wasn't
In the
there.
packet? Okay.
I wasn't there, so you should have.
We have September 15th.
We have September's.
Yeah, September's, yeah. What did you say, 15th?
15th is what it says.
Well, this is what I was given by Ralph Blankenberg.
Says
And,
a new member from the village has not been appointed.
Yeah, so this was after the fact, so.
So next month it'll say a new village member has
Yes.
been.
Yes.
And they did not meet.
And they didn't show up.
They did not meet this, or have a meeting scheduled this month. The next meeting is Tuesday, November 12th.
Okay. Marina and Marina Fest.
Do you want to take Marina honors, Pat?
Sure, hopefully there's minutes in the packet, and the marinas, if it isn't within days, officially closed for the season. They're cleaning up.
Minutes are in the packet.
Minutes are in the packet, yeah.
Marina Fest, wrap-up, get-together. Everything was talked about very highly. They really enjoyed it. They said it was very smooth, aside from the rain. There was a couple little comments, but they said everybody was about 3/4 of what their normal sales are. But for as much rain as they had, they were all very, very happy with it. They liked extending it out through the park the way it was. But outside of that, everybody was very positive and was looking forward to next year and seeing what else we can bring in, and hopefully the acts that we had scheduled will show up this coming year, so. That was
Good.
it.
Parks,
Minutes in the packet.
minutes are in the packet, and you saw one of those results tonight. Any questions on parks? Personnel?
I don't think personnel.
There was no
Yep.
meeting this month.
Personnel met. Personnel had a discussion on employee evaluations and how those would progress.
I thought it was last month, but yeah.
Was it last month?
We did.
Okay.
But we did discuss it.
Yeah.
It was right before finance, or during a finance meeting.
Yeah. Okay.
Can't keep all my meetings straight, sorry.
Plan
Admin
commission.
Minutes in the packet.
Minutes are in the packet. There's a meeting next week. Communication technology has
Has
not
not
met.
met.
SBAA.
We had quite a bit of discussion.
Lexington, but those minutes aren't done.
Okay. Teen Center.
No meeting.
Tourism Zone Commission.
As met, we, had some discussion with an attorney. Nobody gonna input on that?
Right, yeah, they did discuss, or it's going to be further investigated, whether the room tax law applies to marinas and campgrounds. If that would fall under the accommodations word or not, because there are connections.
Amenities provided.
There are
yeah.
amenities provided, right. A lot of times there's a laundry, sometimes there's a swimming pool, there is the water hookups, the internet, things that are used.
There's already some precedent in other communities, I think the attorney said 2, where campgrounds with RV hookups are charging room tax.
Right. He wasn't aware of any marinas yet, but he knows that Rhineland and a couple other places were investigating the same thing and had come to him with questions as to what we were doing up here. So they're looking for some more clarification on that right now. There was a bit of discussion. Some people were
It was an
wanted to
odd-
look into it, and some were like, no, that's, you're hauling your bed in, it shouldn't count.
Well, you're bringing your own bed, right?
Right, you're bringing your own bed.
What was really odd about that was the hoteliers were the ones who seemed to me the most against that.
Yeah, one or two in particular.
Yeah.
There's one or two persons who really questioned it. So, but it is for more investigation.
Well, I suppose, well, you can bring your own sleeping bag when you come to a hotel, right? Can't charge me for the bed.
Yeah, well, one of the
Can't have
concerns
lobby.
was they bring their boat in, get charged the room tax at the boat, then go stay at a hotel and get charged it again, you know.
Yeah.
Well, that's no different
So-
than, I buy a McDonald's cup of Coke and turn around and go buy another cup of Coke somewhere, I guess.
I mean, I
Yeah.
can see a lot of issues with
But
it.
there-
There will be.
But yeah, so there's
This. and
discussion.
You guys tell me to step up or back down on this. The Marina Committee some time ago had a discussion on collective marketing of the marinas. We were going to allocate some funds there, so I've been pretty swinging hard for this at the TZC level because I saw this as a means by which to promote Door County marinas based on conversation at the Marina Committee level. If that's the direction you want me to keep going, I'll keep going that way. If not, I'll just lay low and
Wait a minute, so you're a proponent of the room tax at marinas to get money for marketing? Is that what
based
you're saying?
on commentary at the Marina Committee level, yes.
Because then it falls in that heads and beds category, and you can ask for more focus from the visitor.
Marketing, right now, DCVB, when we approached them after our last conversation, I said, could you help us out with some marketing? They said, well, we're willing to put together this little travel pamphlet for you, and no, we're not gonna send it out anywhere. It's just gonna be here's basically a rack card for us. And as I recall from the Marina Committee meetings, that wasn't really what we were looking for. What we were looking for was something more substantial. I wish John were here for this discussion on the
Well,
order of the Harvard
I could
guide.
understand it if it was a countywide thing, and it was part of the tourism zone, that I understand. But if we were just trying to do it just for Sister Bay, no.
No.
Yeah, no, I think it was
Countywide.
trying to emulate,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
Michigan
Like
is very
Harvard,
collective in their
Yeah.
tourism, and it includes, waterfront, whether it's
Yeah.
marina or hotel, and they've got a booklet. Could we somehow do
Emulate.
something like that, or get in it with them, or
Do you pay an extra tax on your slip?
You're paying it somewhere.
No, see,
Their state pays them.
their state heavily subsidizes marina and waterways.
Would that play, as a boater that goes across the lakes, would that play a role in whether you decide to
Stay there or
stay
not?
in
Stop on
a certain county or
Wisconsin
area
side?
or not?
Potentially, but doesn't really matter what the amenities are or where you're going. I mean, there's a lot of Michigan ones, when you pull in, there's the docks.
Yeah,
That's all it is.
yeah.
So,
I see your point, Shane.
I just-
Right. Taxes
Just more-
incentivize behavior one
more
way or
about
the
these-
other, right?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know, I just,
I think we're losing out the marketing right now to Michigan pretty hard.
I would
Given what
agree.
John shared
I don't
with me.
know that it would really help us. I think I see where you're coming from. I think it would more be a detriment to add a tax in Wisconsin when we already have more expensive transient fees, and, you know, you're not, and we're
Yeah,
not gonna
that's
get
not
any
even
more
in-
money from DVC, whoever it is, to compete against the Michigan marketing, I don't think.
yeah. I don't know. And it's not even in Wisconsin, that's the problem, it's Door County. So I mean, you go up the coast and hit,
Right.
you
So
know, Green Bay, you're
I'd
saving that
argue,
5%.
Intelligently, the point that the reason you guys didn't suffer in the downturn that everybody else suffered, is I understand that Madison was off 20% plus in terms of their room night stays, was because you all had implemented the room tax, and you all were pumping millions of dollars into marketing through the Door County Visitor Bureau. This is what's been relayed to me, you guys tell me if I'm wrong. So whenever we do hit the next downturn, the difference between our marinas being successful and flourishing in Door County versus our marinas not being such may be the difference in marketing. Now, I know we've increased our effort with Sister Bay's Marina, but if you're going to make a destination run, do you just come to Sister Bay? Or do you come make a 2-week stay over here in Door County? A week-long stay over in Door County? I don't know. I'm not.
It depends on the voters. We don't, there's a couple different groups, and we don't get the loopers so much, you know, they do the Michigan side. It'd be great to get them, but now that's a whole other marketing segment.
Okay, now at the zone, this is where we went, and we started arguing the points back and forth. Then it shifted to, is it really what we want to do, or should it be a legal opinion, and what does the law say, what does the law cover? So they wanted to kind of check more with the state to see, because because the wording in the room tax, they said, is word for word the same it is in the sales tax, and we charge the sales tax at the marina. So they were kind of like, legally, what should we be doing?
They're
What
going
is
to
right?
ask, the Attorney General for an opinion on it, which of course is just an Attorney General's opinion. It bears no weight until somebody tries it in court. My opinion on it is, for what it's worth, given the wording, because of the similarity with the sales tax, is that it would be applicable for marinas, and since there's already a precedent with 2 other counties charging for RVs, that puts it there in the realm.
Yeah, but that doesn't, we're just focusing on the, what, 13 marinas that are up here? What about the 200 parks? I mean, it's an exaggeration.
Campgrounds, yeah.
That all get hit.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
what I'm
not only
saying.
that, you got a lot of boats in the marina that aren't, they don't have beds, they don't have heads, they don't have galleys, they're
Right.
not overnight vessels.
Well, that's it. This is
Right.
only your transients. This isn't your seasonals.
Okay.
At least that was my understanding.
Seasonal
of the
is, no,
conversation.
yeah, because room tax is not people that rent by the month. It's if you rent for a period
Less,
shorter than
yeah.
30 days.
But even transients, you're gonna lose those bass boats that are docking overnight because they.
And again, those bass
Right.
boats do not have beds, galleys,
Exactly.
heads,
So-
Right,
any of
so like I
that.
said, it's a very confusing
Yeah.
area.
Something to think about. I mean, I think it's far more reaching than just a marina, though. I mean, there's all those campgrounds around here, and that's what keeps us alive
Sure.
up here. I mean, that's a huge part of tourism up here.
Sure.
And you just add another tax to somebody trying to go on a budget vacation.
I guess what's hard, when you talk to the RV community, and I've had some conversation with them, they go, you know what, DCVB doesn't do the job we need them to do. They don't get the word out about marketing our RV parks. They don't do what they do for the rest of the hotelier community. And so there's this sort of dichotomy in the argument. Do you tax, and you know up front you're gonna take a hit maybe for a couple of years while you're taxing until the marketing catches up to the taxes that you're collecting? Or do you just say, no, taxes are a deterrent, our marketing is enough, we're just gonna tax the hotels? It seems a bit unfair also. I don't know, I'm asking you guys.
Paige?
In regards to the booklet you guys were talking about, would it be something to pursue with Wisconsin Department of Tourism? Because the Michigan thing that you're talking about, I mean, you've all heard what is the Pure Michigan Act?
Yep.
Governor of Michigan has done, I think it's the last governor's conference I was at, I think it's triple. Their tourism marketing budget is triple, quadruple what Wisconsin is.
Yeah.
And as much as Wisconsin will say, oh yeah, we're keeping up, as you just pointed out, you know, so maybe the route to pursue that is to do a statewide thing. And that's, and Door County would definitely be a focus because we have so many markets.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. I think Wendy was looking at the Waterways Commission. I think that's a statewide program, but I don't know if it's.
It's not really marketing though, it's the Department of Tourism that we have. I mean, we could go after a gym grant for something, which is kind of a different conversation, but.
Put it, you know, try and maybe get a collective support effort from the Door County marinas and send it to the Department of Tourism and say, I mean, make them write their own grant, you know, and.
Okay, we're getting way off minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's a good idea.
But we
certainly
can take
do it,
that
yeah.
and make that a suggestion back to Marina to pursue that.
Mhm.
Okay.
And otherwise, the DCVB will be giving us their presentation on their plans for next year in December, when the full board meets again.
Yeah, thank you. Utility.
Utility had a meeting, and we got some results on a sludge survey. Some of you may or may not have
Which
gotten
you all
those.
should have gotten.
You have the copy
The
there?
net effect of that is, right now, we are doing the most cost-efficient means of processing or handling our sludge. Should a time come when we would need to change that for one reason or another, several of the alternatives would suggest additional land being necessary to add to the processing capability of the sludge. So our esteemed utility superintendent would like to suggest that we earmark lands as specified by the survey so that they're not used for other things, at least until such time as the utility could speak up as to.
Okay, so the utility
We
committee.
hope this isn't your sledding hill.
So the utility.
It's not.
The utility committee needs to make that recommendation to the board, specifically what they would like done and set
Okay.
aside.
Got it.
Anything else from utility? When do we have an ownership meeting?
It was scheduled.
Yeah,
When was it?
November.
I got it, I can't remember.
19th or something like that.
Sound about right.
Next meeting.
Finance is the 15th, Marina is the 14th. 7th is utility and finance. The 2nd, oh, that's compensation administration.
You got meetings going on, man.
Jesus.
I believe it's the 20th, I don't have it on my calendar. But
I don't have it on my calendar, but we did pick a time.
Yep.
The 11th?
It's not
No,
mine
it's
either.
a Thursday,
Phone calendar.
pretty confident. At any rate, I'll ping that out with the November meeting schedule.
Admin and comp oversight,
Has met a lot.
continuing to meet and press forward. Waterfront oversight has not met, but will now that Fall Fest is over and we can start to get into the fall. I believe a motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
All in flavor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do we want to look at setting some meeting times and dates?